All right. Hello, everybody. Oh, good. That is coming through over here. That is so interesting.
Good. Yay.
Welcome, everyone. It's Saturday night. We have the technical difficulties, and it is time for the weekly dig. I feel like this is a technical difficulty central here, but I think we'll be okay. We'll be there. It's Saturday night. That means it is time to talk about anime old and new. For those new to the channel, I'm Brent. These are my amazing co-hosts, John. Say hi, John.
Hi, John. Let me
And Steve. Say hi, Steve.
Hello, Steve. Hi.
So, if it weren't already obvious that we were geeks, you should have heard what we were talking about before we went live. Holy smokes. But, so we're going to be talking about some anime tonight. But before we get into that, how have your weeks been, guys?
Busy. It's getting to be that time of year. It's the for those of you who are looking for pumpkin beers, sorry, it's done. It's over. Don't cry. We're now entering into a holiday phase, and so I've been spending the past week just going, oh, Mad Elf, okay, Southern Tier, here we go, and just
winter spiced lager.
Yeah, well, it's Southern Tier, yeah. So a whole bunch of interesting stuff, but I did get, speaking of geek, Bell's Brewery, which makes really good beer, has their Mars out, and it is as in the rover, Mars. So it's like it's a stout, I think, and it's Mars, and on the top of the bottle cap is actually the North Pole of Mars.
Cool.
So
interesting. Cool. Okay.
So I have a question for you, Steve. Are there any anime-themed alcohols available? Beers, wine, liquor that you're aware of?
Malt liquor.
Yeah.
Malt liquor. Yeah.
There should be an Evangelion malt liquor, let's be honest.
It's an Angry Masato.
Escape the Infinity, the malt liquor.
Oh, God. That sounds like menthol liquor.
It's cooling and invigorating.
Yeah.
The answer is no. There was a Gundam product about 3 years ago.
Okay.
Much like the Sardine can of Char Ensemble that came out a couple years ago.
Okay.
I think it was.
It's got to be a whiskey.
Was it a whiskey? I thought it was a beer.
Is it a beer? Okay. I'm surprised.
Beer, but I
that
understand why you're saying
yeah.
whiskey. I understand why you're saying whiskey. So there is that, and then there are all the craft beers that love to play. Oh no, this isn't anime. No, this isn't Pokemon that you see on the face of our thing. Even though it really does look like Pikachu, because we're playing with copyrights, and this is how we want to sell. So there's plenty.
Electric
of
Mouse
that.
beer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's not Pikachu. It's Drink-a-Brew.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, cool.
Oh yeah. I choose you.
Drink-a-Brew, the electronic mouse. Oh. Okay. It's electronic rat. Well.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's actually an awesome name.
Drink-a-Brew, the electronic rat.
Big rat.
Oh boy.
That's not a bad band name. I got to imagine.
Yeah.
It's no fart couch,
DJ,
but you know,
right?
it works pretty okay.
Fair to middle.
Yeah. Electronic Rat opens for Fart Couch.
There you go.
Oh, nice.
John, how about you?
It's just been a week of getting back into the groove again.
I imagine.
Yeah. And really, like, it's funny. It's not like I noticed too much like stress and like weight, but this week has probably been like more lighthearted as we've transitioned out of like the Halloween period. And we're sort of getting into that middle space where the temperatures are down. People have not gone Christmas crazy yet, and it's just beautiful outside. It's like how to really like telling jokes, laughing at stories, kind of things for the week, and it's just like wow, okay. This makes this nice.
Yeah,
I'm sure as the weeks progress, I'm sure the weight again will come back down.
Sure.
And then about 2 or 3 weeks, you'll be
grumble. Yeah.
It's funny how taking time off can improve one's mood, isn't it?
Yeah. It actually makes you rather jovial and much less of a sour old grope. You're a grope.
Hopefully not a grope. That's not appropriate.
Not a grope. Yeah. Just I'm groping my own psyche.
Okay. Yeah.
And then just trying now that I've taken the plunge and I've bought into Funimation. I've been trying to catch up on their catalog of new stuff and the Crunchy catalog of new stuff. And I'll tell you this, for mobile, I much prefer Crunchyroll's interface.
Shock.
It is.
They did a much better job with it.
Yeah. It's a lot
Funimation,
easier.
like Crunchyroll, like literally on the screen when you're playing, you've got the play, slice. If you hit that, it plays. If you hit it again, it has the pause indicator. And then you got 10 seconds forward, 10 seconds backwards.
Right.
Funimation's mobile doesn't have that. So it's like you have to kind of like dance it forward a little bit with your finger to try and find the right spot. Online, like on the PC, they're relatively similar. That you get the 10-second forward, 10-second back with both of them. But it's just like their mobile access. It's just it's not as good.
Even on the PCs, I still find that I like Crunchyroll for some reason a lot better than Funimation. Yeah, it's just easier or whatever.
Funimation's player has also been less reliable for me, where like it'll load up and just spin forever until I refresh. Weird issues like that. Or just like the page won't load or whatever. And granted, they've got a billion One Piece, folks all watching that, simultaneously. Right. So I'm sure they've got their own troubles, but
well, one of the things I found, I was like kind of surprised, is when I opened up Crunchyroll, it must have been like Wednesday, and I'm getting ready to go off to work. I pop it open, and I could see down below of like top picks. Nuku Nuku's in there.
Oh, nice! Wow.
I'm like,
yeah.
So I started sort of thumbing through both of them, and I'm noticing that a lot of the stuff that Crunchyroll licensed from Funimation was now on Funimation. And so it's like some of the back catalog, and a lot of older catalog stuff is starting to show up on Crunchyroll, and I'm like, okay, maybe this acquisition won't be that bad.
And that's a good point. Nice. I have noticed that, and I figured it was on Funimation or Crunchyroll where I was skimming through the recommended or the here's what's hot right now, and there were like one or two like 90s anime on there.
Yeah.
Like, wow, interesting.
And I didn't realize all this time that we've all talked about Nuku Nuku, I swear I saw that. Nope. I did not. I watched episode 1. I'm like, no, I have never seen this. I've seen stuff that's like subsequently the premise is kind of similar, but never have I seen that. So I was like, yay.
It's not a show you forget easily.
No. Although, like I said, I swear I've seen another one where it's got the same basic kind of premise, and it's just like, so that's what locked me into being like, oh no, I've seen Nuke Nuke. I'm up. No. It's like, no, you haven't, dummy. It's like a completely different type of character kind of thing going on. I'm like, gotcha.
Speaking of, earlier in the week, I went up to the local mall to go to the Verizon store to pick up a piece of equipment for something that may come later for the channel, but that's a whole other thing. Went in, talked to sales guy, explained what I needed. He said, sure, go over. Sat down, he kind of talked through what I needed, and I explained that I needed this for my YouTube channel. And as we were going through, he said, oh, what do you do for your YouTube channel? I said, it's mostly anime. And his eyes lit up. And he's, hard to tell, but he's like in his 30s maybe. Oh, that's so cool. That's awesome. And we got through our thing, and I said, so what anime have you seen and do you like? And he said, well, let me see here. I guess the one that really got me into it was Dragon Ball Z. I was like, sure, totally understand. He goes, sure. And I'm like,
that's a gateway drug.
Right. Yeah. And I'm like, okay. And he says, another one. And I'm like, okay, here we go. Is it going to be Demon Slayer? Is it going to be Naruto? Is it going to be, One Piece? And he goes, right. Other big ones would be Voltron, Yu Yu Hakusho, and Gundam Wing. Those are all really the ones that and I'm like, oh, dude, we have to talk.
Cool. Impressive start.
Yeah. So like he was big into all the classic Toonami shows and so forth.
Sure.
And then he hasn't really seen much since then. So I'm like, you and I, man, we're gonna have to have a long conversation at some point. It's like, wow, that's of all the connections.
Here's my card.
Right.
Put it into my channel.
Yeah. Oh, he did. What's his name? Yeah. How do you spell archaeology? You know. So if you're here tonight, Ahmed, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. And as for me this week, on the anime front, the main thing, not too much, just watching a little bit more of some things. Episode 2 of Come We Can't Communicate on Netflix, which Netflix is slow compared to the rest of the world on getting those episodes out. But very happy to see that episode 2 continues the trend of the animation quality and the approach to humor and so forth. And it's chugging along.
It's fun to watch that one.
Yeah, sometimes those first episodes they pour everything into the first episode, but it feels like they're going to keep that going on. So yay, Netflix money.
Yeah,
it's a good thing. Speaking of money, let us get into it and talk about Neon Genesis Evangelion 3.33 You Cannot Redo, which we all watched in the past week or two after watching the first 2 Rebuild movies, and oh man, do I have things to talk about here. So as we were talking about this a little bit before, the first movie is basically a remake of episodes like 1 through 8. The second movie is more of a remix, right? They're doing things. This is not either of those things.
Nope.
Whew. So let's get started talking about that because I was kind of surprised to open with these shots of all of these sort of polygons in space is how this movie opens. And I'll admit, I understand the intent of these scenes, which is, if you imagine you're in a movie theater here to see this, and you see all these clips, you're like, what's going on here? What part of the TV series is this from? Where's this pulling from? And as it turns out, none of those things.
Yep.
We're in space. Asuka is piloting an EVA in space. And fighting
with massive boosters.
With massive boosters, yes, absolutely. I thought you were going somewhere different with that phrase. But yes,
of course
massive
I'm not,
boosters.
because it's not past 10 o'clock.
Yes, nor is it Mari.
Yes.
And we get this whole new thing. And I'll admit, and this may have colored it for me for the rest of the film, I thought this scene went on way too long. I loved the action. I loved the action stuff, but it felt like they were just drawing it out as long as possible to increase the mystery of the scene, and I could have done with this being a few minutes shorter.
I could, yeah. So as I'm watching this, I actually stopped, right? Because I have Prime, so I stopped it. Then I pulled it out, got out of the episode on the television, and I was just like, okay, it says it's 2.33.
Yep.
Okay, I'll resume watching. And then it went on. That first sequence went on for 4 minutes,
something like that. Yeah,
it was and it was and it's the bottom shot of the boosters, and you hear the talking, the chatter, the radio chatter, and the radio chatter was going over itself. There were multiple people talking, and that's just not how it works.
Right? Yeah.
In reality, that's not. You don't have multiple channels.
That's very bad in space. Yeah.
Yeah, because you could just be the pilot just going, what was that? What?
Yeah.
The dog?
I said there's an asteroid coming at you. What?
The dog? What?
Yeah.
So
there's a droid on my tail? What?
And so, but then, I thought it was visually, it was interesting, like how they were doing the burns and stuff like that. And I thought it was good. Mm-hmm. I just didn't want it. At that
yes,
time.
exactly.
I just wanted it, if it was a different movie,
right?
It would be fine. And then it got into this really chaotic, good battle scene, but it was really, really chaotic. Mm-hmm. And I actually, we were talking about that forward, backward, 10-second kind of thing. Mm. I wish I had that on Prime because because I was doing that all with the remote.
Yeah.
And, just kind of going back and forth to make sure that I actually saw what I saw because I didn't want to miss anything. Because at that point, I realized I was just like, I actually again paused the movie and I said, "All right, 2.22 was at the end of this, that, and the other thing. Where in God's name am I right now?"
Yeah.
So and then of course the rest is
yeah. Oscar shows up and you're like, okay, I know who that is. Yeah.
You see, and this is what is an interesting counter reaction to you guys. This sold me on Eva as we're progressing forward, where I'm just like, I really enjoyed watching the setup. I really enjoyed that chatter. I enjoyed not knowing particularly what exactly was happening. I loved watching just the animation of all the fight scene. I loved watching just the detail of the burn units and how they put this together, how the Eva unit itself is sort of has its own heat shield kind of thing. I was just like, okay, cool. This has got nothing to do with the TV show.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of digging this. I like the fact that you're hitting me early on to let me know, don't expect what you had for the television show. Don't expect what you had for one. No. We're proceeding in we're proceeding in our orbit. Yeah. To a greater thing, where those boosters, if nothing else, it's obviously there's a lot of power behind this film. They've got the funding for it. They've done these great animation and fight sequences, and it's cool. I now know that you reached a trajectory with this thing, and now here we go. I'm settled in for this, and I can't wait to see how you're going to take this.
Yeah. Nice metaphor, by the way. For me, action should always communicate character or move the plot forward. And when I don't have any context as to what's going on and what the consequences of the action is, I check out a little bit. I have a difficult time getting engaged in that action. So that's what I needed out of the scene. But I totally agree that it was a very refreshing way of opening the movie, of saying, okay, we're going in a different direction. You've got to figure it out now. You've got to do it.
Yeah.
And I'll go further. I think this is kind of Anno also kind of doing kind of what Tomino does a lot, actually, of kind of going, no, it's time for you to put your thinking caps on and not be spoon-fed this. You've got to actually work, which is kind of nice.
And then kill them all.
Right.
No, wait, not that one.
Close, but not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So one of the things I will say that I enjoyed about the scene that at first annoyed the hell out of me,
okay,
was Mari singing, not knowing that was her singing.
So, yeah.
So you hear this childlike voice singing and this song, and it sounds like almost a nursery rhyme. Seems like, and it's this song that's being sung over the action and stuff. And I'm like going, why are we choosing this song over the action? And then I think that's when Oscar comes in. Actually.
Yeah.
And then Oscar's just basically, shut up! I can't think. And I was like going, yes, you're right. I can't think either. What's going? Oh, that was actually Mari. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
But it was a great way to just bring Mari into it and just her being her and doing the thing. I love towards the end of the fight scene where it's just totally Oscar. Mari's just like going, yeah, you're on your own, see it.
Sorry, princess.
But that's the thing. It's that we got out of 2.22 is you start to get this thing where it's Mari wants to pilot. Mari's trained to pilot. Mari's good at piloting. So she's singing because she knows exactly what to do. Muscle memory, man. She is doing the thing absolutely. So she's got the opportunity and time to just be like, blah, 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 blah.
She has no ego invested in it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's whereas Asuka is she's got to prove herself. She has to be right there, and she's the best ever. And it's arguably the one who can sing in combat is probably the better pilot. Yeah, don't tell Asuka that because she'd punch you right in the face.
Yeah.
Shinji.
Might be slightly psychotic. It's just
By the way, it's a good thing we're doing this on the internet where no one can get to our cars. Just saying.
I don't have a car. I have an EVA unit.
There we go. I've seen the bumper sticker. My other car is an EVA unit. It's a fun sticker.
Nice.
My
car runs on LCM.
There we go. So we get a big old scene, big old action scene, and of course the other question that we were all asking through the scene is, where is Shinji? And then we find Shinji in a hospital of some kind. And I do love this shot of him, strapped down to the bed with the 4 machine guns pointed at him.
Yeah.
As he's all just going, what's going on? What's the deal? And the girl is reporting in on him. And we're kind of like Shinji at this point. What's the deal?
Yeah, what exactly happened?
Well, to be honest, he handled it a lot better than I think I would have.
True.
If I woke up and there's 4 machine guns aimed at me, I would be like, I'm going to go back to sleep.
This is not good.
He managed to retain his bladder control, though.
True.
Thank goodness.
Yes, as far as we know. And then he's wheeled onto the bridge of the Nautilus. I mean, this ship. Where we get to see how things have changed. And we see that there is now a rather new situation with a new Masato and a new
Frisco.
Yeah. It's. What do you all think of the visual aesthetic of this? Because I mean, the first thing jumped out to me is this looks more like Darling in the Franxx than Evangelion to me. Like the aesthetic is just rather wildly different. It's got this Art Deco Metropolis-esque style to it.
Yeah, it's a bit of a switch. But I mean, it fully drives home the idea. It's like, no, this is a different thing.
Yeah.
You're not going to just see Masato standing there in like a jacket and a crop top and her skirt and shoes. Yep. It's like, no, this is a different damn thing. Something has happened. Mm-hmm. Shinji looks the same.
Yep.
This is 15 minutes after the last film,
sure.
right?
Yep.
Now, why do these people look like this 15 minutes later? And it's like, oh, maybe there's something actually bad really happened. And there's like reasons that everybody's gone all like freaky looking and is acting weird. I'm like, okay, that was the first thing that came to my mind. It's seeing that kind of visually discordant kind of thing where it's like something terrible happened. It's something awful happened, right? Mm-hmm. I know it.
Well, I mean, they're pointing the machine guns at him, and they're dragging him down the hallway. This hallway, and if you notice, the hallway is actually moving. So you get a sense that they're not on something. They're not in nerve. Mm-hmm. and the girl who we find out later who she is wearing a beret, which is not something that is worn in nerve. So you get clues, visual clues that that they're not nerve. And but then you get a shot of Shinji's feet, the bottom of his feet. They're like actually like toe tagging him in case he dies or something.
Yeah.
But they have his name on the bottom of his foot and that kind of thing, and they bring him into the bridge, which looks almost Gundam-esque, and but then you have some familiar tropes. You have the emergency signs, and then you see the people who have clearly look different, and new people admits them. The girl with the pink hair and that kind of thing. So as you're sitting there, and Shinji's just like, there was a point where I was just like, okay, we get the point that Shinji's confused. Can we have him stop saying what's going on?
Yeah.
Over and over again. But the fact that Masato's like not even really acknowledging him, and then saying things like, "This conversation is over."
Yeah.
Things like that. So you have this sense of just like you're sitting there on the seat, and you're just like, "Tell me, tell me, somebody tell me, what's going on?" And then you learn.
Yeah. And of course, it's an interesting, callback to the beginning of Evangelion itself, of being introduced, cold commander figure, even a gurney going down a hallway, right? That was a thing. A lot of the same stuff, and then kind of it must be said with the irony of Masato now acting like Gendo, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very interesting twist. And by the way, the reason I said Nautilus is because there are quite a few Nadia and the Secret of Blue Water references in this movie. Not the least of which being just the overall sort of style and aesthetic of this bridge, but also the fact that, and we'll see if I can get a screenshot of him, because it's always hard to get that in these clips often. There's Pink-Headed Girl. There he is, the guy, the bald guy in this, who seems to be the engineer. He also happens to be played by the voice actor who played Captain Nemo on Nadia and the Secret of Blue Water in Japanese.
Oh, really?
Yes, he is. And later on, when they do the whole activation scene, those lines are pulled from Nadia and the Secret of Blue Water. Like, that's how they activate the Nautilus.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Just found that out today. So yeah, that's definitely a thing that they're kind of pulling from.
Yeah. Wow. That's an interesting poll for an Eva film.
Yeah, I know. Again, just kind of going back to the well, I think, on some of these things, and just in general, kind of. And I mean, let's be honest. Masato is basically playing Captain Nemo. Like, that's very much her personality in this. Just a very serious, mysterious captain. But yeah, no, I agree. I found this scene to be a little frustrating, but also very intriguing. Right, where, you know, as an audience member, you are kind of in Shinji's shoes, where I think for a lot of us in episode 1, we're not as much. I mean, we're seeing him as a perspective character, but in here you are kind of like, well, just tell me what's going on. Why not? Come on, everybody. But no, they kind of throw him in cold storage, as they bring back in Asuka and everything, and then they go off to fight Nerve. And we get lots and lots and lots of CGI. There he is. And then then the ship launches, and a wonderfully, how to put this? There's a movie. Oh my gosh, I just remember this movie. Is it Super Atragon?
Gesundheit?
Oh gosh, was it Super Atragon? Maybe. It is. Yes. Okay, Atragon. So there was this 1963 Japanese science fiction film called Atragon, which is about a flying battleship weapon thing, and very influential on otaku and so forth. Obviously, being sort of a Yamato-esque.
Yes, it's Space Battleship Yamato.
Yeah, pretty much. Giant drill on the front. It's had some remakes. But one of the things I've seen the movie, it very much has one of those things where every time it launches, like it's a production. Every time the ship does everything, and there's all of the, let's do all the things, and it rises majestically into the air and all that. And that very much has the feel of this scene, almost a parody, to the point of parody, where this is just, activate interlocks and change this and move this, and things come together and move and change and move and power and all, and it just goes on for minute after minute after minute.
Well, Eva's been good at that, since we saw the Tokyo 3 transformation, where it's like things, bolts are sliding back out, locking in, this moves up, that goes down, this thing turns. It's like, you guys are not like just, wasting the budget on like, cheap sandwiches and coffee. You're spending it on something.
Definitely. But yeah, we get the launch of the ship, and what an interesting design this ship has.
Yeah.
So there's obviously elements of white base in it, with the two sort of central columns. There's also a bit of an SDF-1 feel to it, in terms of being a giant battleship thing. There's also kind of a Nausicaa feel to it, with the giant wings floating out. And kind of Castle in the Sky as well, with the Castle in the Sky robot wing things.
It reminded me of a sky whale.
Okay, yeah, I see that. Totally.
Where I was just kind of like, okay, it's, I sort of kind of get where you're going with that, and it's interesting.
Yeah. Hey, Patrick, good to see you. Yeah, it's a mechanical porn. I think it's a fair way of describing those scenes. Totally.
Well, I mean, honestly, if you're gonna do the thing that you have all the little mechanical fan kids out there going, oh yeah.
I mean, Anna watched those scenes obsessively as a kid. right? You know, that was I think more of that, please. I should also point out before I go any further. Apparently, it has now come out in recent months that Anno was not always especially close to the production of the rebuild movies, and there were long periods where he just kind of not show up to the studio, or show up for an hour and then give them vague suggestions and leave. When we say Anno's vision, who's to say like how much of Anno's vision is actually in these movies? But fair enough. You know, whoever knows.
He was busy running a chain of Lawsons.
Yeah.
He'll be back in a week.
Yeah, totally. There was a connection to that recently. What was it? Okay, it'll come back to me at some point. But yeah. Well, the funny thing is, apparently during 3.0, Anno did go into a depression again. Of this film. He said it was weird, considering how the same thing happened on the original TV series. It kind of happened again on 3.0, and any number of reasons why that could happen. You know, coming back to the same source material, and it could have reopened old wounds. Who knows?
Right.
But yeah, very interesting design of the ship. Very distinctive. One of the things Evangelion has always been really good at, as you talked about before, is kind of monster design. And mecha design, the way the angels look and the way Eva's look. And I love seeing that here as well, of saying we're going to have a ship, but it's not going to look like any ship you're familiar with. We're going to just really go wild on it. And so it takes out the angel, as we might expect, with a, again, somewhat absurd
centrifugal force.
The use of centrifugal force. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, fine, cool. And then off it flies in space.
It made for good movie.
Absolutely.
Like, wow, I would never have thought of this scene at all, ever.
And I want to talk about this shot, because I am not sure if this shot means what I think it means, but there's a shot as they're flying off, with all the battleships flying next to them, and you see beams of light going off of them up, off of all of the ships, like they're marionettes. And I saw that scene, and I thought that the filmmakers are kind of sending a message to the audience of saying, you know, they're all puppets, right? Like, this is all artifice. They're all dancing to our strings, basically. You know, don't take this too seriously. I don't know, but it just seemed a little bit like, you know, like watching a Godzilla movie and seeing the strings on the planes as they're flying past, you know. Oh, okay, I see what that is. I don't know.
Or they fires a missile and it goes oddly, like you can see where it's traveling a wire path down to something.
Right.
Like, nice.
Mm-hmm. So yeah.
I just thought at that scene when it was lifting up and the boats were starting to lift with it, or the ships were starting to lift with it. There was that one ship, though, that did a nosedive.
Yeah, it's true.
Did you catch that?
Yeah, it's true.
And I was just like, oh, that would have been sucked to be on that.
Yeah.
But, hey, we're off the... Oh, God. No.
Yep.
Well, see, that's the one crewmate that didn't truly believe.
Yep.
This thing can't fly. It's a boat. Oh, no, don't sink. Ah!
Yep.
You can't get to the second star to the right unless you believe.
Exactly. All right, everyone. I believe in fairies.
Yeah.
And so and so now we get a bit more, the sort of the pointer scene of the movie, where we get some more of the backstory, and we find out that this is indeed Sakura, I believe, Toji's younger sister. And I got to ask you guys a question. I thought she was like 14. Like, she looked like she was 14, 15 to me.
Well, she should have been,
But she should have been like...
But she's...
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, from the one scene that we saw in the last movie where she gets out of the hospital, she looked like she was like 8. So she looked like she should have been in her early 20s.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
And to me, she looks like she's not that.
No.
I don't know.
Well, they might be relying on people not exactly remembering correctly on her age. Oh, no, she was like 2, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it was just weird because I watched that and I was like, okay, she's about the same age as Shin, maybe 15, 16, or whatever. But yeah, no, she must be in her early 20s, so I don't know. Unless, I mean, I'm sure there's some backstory thing where like, oh, actually she's, and it's also possible that if indeed the curse of the Evas is that you're kind of stuck in age, maybe by being around them, she has now been sort of stuck at 14 forever. I don't know. Possible.
There are people on the planet that would pay for that technology.
Hey, who knows?
It would have been great if she said, out loud, there can be only one.
Yeah. Sorry, Shinji, I'm not going to release the interlocks.
Oh boy. There were few nerdier moments in the 90s than the music video for that movie. We have Queen on on stage with Connor McLeod walking around in a trench coat and a sword in front of Queen. It's like, okay, wow, somebody paid the money to make this happen. Okay.
Yep.
Great song, though.
Great song. Then we get Asuka showing up again, showing off the eye patch. I love the fact that she never takes the plug suit off. It's a very Asuka thing to do.
It's bonded to her at this point.
Yeah, but probably pretty much. Boy, that would... Imagine her taking that off, what that would smell like. Ugh. But wearing, obviously, a much trendier outfit now, with a little, vaguely cattier hat and all that kind of stuff. But definitely Asuka being Asuka. Pissed off at Shinji, as always. And, as usual, Shinji is not told what the heck is going on.
Yep. They just do that because they love seeing his reaction.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's their entertainment.
Yeah.
There's no anime in that world, so they have to F with somebody.
It's true.
And that somebody Shinji.
Yep.
Because honestly, if someone were to say to me, if I were Shinji, and someone said, "Don't pilot an Ava," why not? Because we're afraid that you might instigate the next impact, fourth impact, and all these horrible things happen because of the last time. I would be inclined to go, okay. I will not get into the Ava because we don't want that. But that would just end 3.3.
But is my daddy proud of me? Does my daddy love me? No.
Sure.
I'm going to pilot that Eva. I'm going to pilot the hell out of it.
But
I watch it all burn.
But I do love this scene because of what happens, because of the kind of build up to it. Is that Shinji gets the cassette player, and he reaches out to Rei, and Rei responds, and he says, "Come to me," and a farking Eva hand punches through the side of the ship.
Yep.
And it's just such a wonderful anime moment, and I mean that not in the sense of just being over the top, but in the sense of a ridiculous thing that is nevertheless kind of established in a world. Yeah, this is a thing that happens. This can happen.
Yeah. And first of all, not only does everyone survive, I really honestly thought that Toji's little sister was gonna get sucked out.
Oh, me too. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I was just like,
and it was gonna be Shinji's fault again.
Yep, right. Yep. Yep. Totally. But I love the scene for not only for all that, but because it farking moves the plot along. Thank you. Because Evangelion's not always great about that. But then also that Shinji, is like, okay, this represents forward motion. I am doing this thing. You are all maybe trying to protect me, but you're clearly keeping me in the dark as well. I'm going to make the decision to do something that actually is risky, but I think is kind of the right choice. And I just love that Shinji, steps up there.
Yeah. Someone has literally, mechanically, reached a hand out to Shinji to bring him out of the confinement in the dark into the light.
Yep, exactly.
Even if he does have a Suicide Squad necklace on.
He's just fashionable.
Exactly. It's Battle Royale all over again.
Exactly.
Battle
But
Royale.
again, but again, seriously though, Misato again with her hand, she can't slap him, she can't grab him, she can't do it, she can't press the button.
Yeah.
She lets him go out of range.
What a great image of Misato holding the hand out, like so that it has a clear signal. Finger over the trigger.
Yep.
But she just can't quite bring herself. Can't quite bring herself to do it. That jumped way farther than I thought it would.
Like Steve was saying, that would have put a real quick end to the film.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe not. Like, I was honestly expecting her to press it. We would see an explosion, and then Shinji would wake up again. Right? They totally could have gone that direction. I was just thinking like a weird time loop thing, and we're in the Twilight Zone. I don't know. But yeah, just a good moment there. And then Shinji wakes up in the unfamiliar ceiling. Which again, fair, good reference. We get Rei, or is it?
Dun dun dun.
And again, I do appreciate that she shows up, and for me at least, I was meaning like, not Rei. Not her. It's a clone. She does not act like Rei, even like episode 1 Rei. Like there's something about this that just is off, and I don't know how they did it, but it's like, good job there.
Well, I mean, the first indicator is she's wearing a black plug suit. Mm-hmm. So it's like, okay, that you're really trying to telegraph this here. But like in the first time you saw her, it was a white plug suit. Now it's a black plug suit. Like, oh yeah, thanks. Oh, good.
Right.
Right.
It's almost like anime likes visual symbolism. Weird.
Exactly. And for a lot of stuff that's just not told to us as the audience, at least we can be like, I think I understand that.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, I get you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It also, I'm just realizing now, is she wearing her? 1 second. I think she's wearing the little barrettes further forward.
Yeah.
Like they seem to be like, forward up here as opposed to normally back here. And again, I don't know if that's symbolism as well, that something's different. I don't know.
She's been cloned so many times her head's misshapen, so they have to come forward to sit on her skull properly.
Wouldn't surprise me. And then we get some of these lovely imagery of Tokyo 3.5 and what's left of it, should we say? And again, I do appreciate kind of the payoff of we saw this happen.
Yeah,
we saw that explosion at the end of that thing, which wiped out half of the building. So we would expect it to be not too great anymore, and sure enough, it is not.
Yeah.
And I just love the visuals of all of the red pools everywhere. But also just the visuals of all the automation. No people anywhere. Things still happening. Like obviously there's still activity, but I think it's all been automated. Very, very weird.
Well, I got to imagine that there's been a tremendous amount of attrition.
Yeah.
In all of this. So the only thing that's still operating on the machines, most of the people are probably dead.
Exactly. Not everyone though. There's a beautiful boy playing piano.
And thank goodness for that.
Yes. Exactly.
He's prepping for the Idol.
Exactly. He is.
Selection project. Here we come.
Who gets to pilot the Ava? Who gets to pilot the Ava?
Who's Shinji's only friend? Only. Never.
Yeah, and so obviously we get a new shot with Gendo, sporting the Ghost in the Shell visor there.
Gendo's so hip.
Yes, absolutely.
He could be an 80s, early 90s rollerblader.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's right on it.
So the whole sequence of Shinji and Rei going down into the remnants of Tokyo 3 and the first part of the as they're going down into it seems like okay, things are kind of messed up, but all right. And then it just starts getting through the familiar scenes, and you start seeing how more and more messed up things are getting as they're going down further into Dante's Inferno.
Yeah.
And so they keep going down, and this is like, for me, this is at the point where I noticed that Rei is not Rei, because she's just not acting in the normal way.
Yeah.
yeah. But you know, so as they're going down and they're doing this, and I'm like thinking to myself, because you guys bring up the point where everything's automated, everything. Yeah. There's no other person till the kid, the beautiful boy, and they're going through it, and I'm just like going, okay, so let me get this straight. Masato actually puts together a fleet, has actual ops centers, has actual support mechanisms and all these things. And she's fighting Nerve, and Nerve is comprised of Gendo, his former
Obi-Wan
community college instructor, beautiful boy band boy, and
Ray, who's a big help,
and Ray, not Ray. So I'm like, okay.
Well, he has an army of Rays, really. So there are a lot of people. Just their own Ray.
Wouldn't that have been such a perfect image, or just a perfect thing? Is just the entire facility is crewed entirely by Rays.
Yes,
all in uniforms and caps, and just all going.
No.
It sells at work style.
I just went at that point. I would have been like going, no.
But that would have been awesome, like refueling stuff and like moving stuff around.
All emotionless, just
handing out sandwiches and drinks to the other Rays. Like, what the hell's happening?
Yeah.
What about genetic diversity, Gendo? I don't need any genetic diversity.
Yeah.
I just need Ray.
No, I have a question that just occurred to me. Is Gendo blind? Do we ever see him
blind to the emotional distress of the son?
Do we ever see him without the visor on? Do we ever see him move?
He does.
Jeez,
he does. There's one point where when Shinji first gets down there and addresses his father, and his father turns around and walks away.
Okay, fair.
So there's that one moment.
Okay.
But I would say that he's rollerblading. No, I would say that he's rollerblading behind the scenes, having a riot his whole time. No, I think
Starlight Express.
Yeah, oh my god. Starlight Express with all the Rays around.
We need an Evangelion remix of Starlight Express. We really do.
Wow. Starlight Eva. Oh, wow.
It writes itself.
We make so much money. But I think that the visors, to me, and I have no basis for it, but it just seems to me that I don't think he's physically blind. I think that, or I don't think that he's medically blind. I think he might be wanting to limit his vision for what he's already done, and it's more focused and because he's almost there with what he wants to do. He's almost there, and I don't think he can look at the world anymore and know and understand what he's done, because he doesn't really walk out into the world. He is in Tokyo 3. That's it. That's it. That's his world now.
I completely agree. And I actually just realized something to your earlier point. I remember reading something online somewhere. Somebody's going, how does, why does anyone work for this guy? Basically, watching the original Evangelion series, like, why doesn't everyone kind of, walk off at some point? I'm like, maybe that's kind of what happened. Maybe, Masato's staged revolution. Everyone's like, yep, see ya. Like, nope, you're a jerk. I'm out of here.
Well, I like the idea of the visor being blinders to the rest of what's going on in the world. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he still physically can see, but he's got his focus on where he's going to go, and those are blinders. He doesn't see what's going on with Shinji. He doesn't see what's really, in essence, what's going on with Masato and all these other people. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
He's blind to what's going on with that, and he's solely focused on what he's trying to achieve.
Yep.
So I
think that's a brilliant observation.
It's a really good answer.
And so Shinji wanders around, tries to talk to Rei, and I'll be very careful about skipping here. As he talks to Rei a little bit, because you gotta have our fan service.
Yep.
Which, granted, I think is the only fan service in the series, in the movie.
Yes.
I think we don't really, and we see.
Well,
There's a bit of Kaoru,
Yes.
I think.
Well, we have Asuka with Pen Pen.
That's. I mean, in this movie though, because that was. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I thought you were talking like the series.
Oh yeah, no.
Oh,
Funny. Yeah.
No, we have those.
My memory isn't that bad.
Who said that?
Come on, Bob. You know me better than that.
You know that guy down at the store that calls me Bill?
And so yeah, and so Shinji has his thing, and I think this is, letting the audience know, if they haven't guessed already, that this is not Rei.
Yeah.
And yeah, she's just kind of there, existing.
And he tries to bring her the books.
Yeah.
And and she's just like, "Do I?" And that, to me, that would have been the first clue. Oh, not Rei.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is not the girl you're looking for. Well, the fact that Rei in the original was passive. She didn't have just a completely flat affect. Right. Like you'd ask her a question and she would answer and so forth, and she would have things. This Rei is just dead inside. And it really really comes across this other time.
More of an automaton than the original Rei, which was more just a buzzkill.
Exactly. Well, the thing is, Padavi's asking, why doesn't Shinji recognize that it's not the same Rei? I think he suspects. Because he doesn't really treat this Rei exactly the same way he treats the original Rei. He calls her Rei, he's giving her kind of the benefit of the doubt, and he's talking to her as though she is Rei. I think he is assuming she is Rei. But I think there's something about his attitude where he's not as chummy with her, she's clearly not as chummy with him. So there seems to be something in his performance too, where he's kind of like, this is weird. I'm going to try to break into her. He clearly knows something's happened.
Right.
Yeah, that she, like, perhaps she's just lost in herself or something, and as a result of what happened, and but doesn't realize that's really.
Well, I mean, Shinji also doesn't have a 100% grasp on all the things that have happened,
right?
And what's going on, and where he is in this at the moment. So I think him bringing books to her is everything's colored outside the lines. And Shinji's really trying very hard to bring things back into the lines so that he can figure out where he is in this. So Rei is not making any sense to him, so he's going to bring books to her. And then that'll somehow, if he can get her to get into that, then that'll bring her back into an orbit where he kind of understands her and he can normalize something about what's happening.
And also, to be fair, like, he has been on a nice edge for a very long time psychologically. And then he's been brought back here, and all of the progress he's made has been ripped away from him. Yeah. All the things he tried to accomplish, all that kind of stuff is gone. So he is in, and I can understand people being frustrated by Shinji in this movie. I totally get that, and I was not thrilled with what they did with Shinji in this movie, but I can recognize what they were trying to do psychologically with him, where he is now unmoored again, and as you say, kind of trying to kind of rebuild as best he can. It's a little annoying because we're like, okay, back to square one, but
which is again funny. I like trying to look at the broken puzzle that Shinji is now more than I ever liked looking at dealing with in the TV series or in 1.0. It's like I like the fact that there's bits and pieces of him that are just kind of like gobbledygook now. And it's just like trying to watch that, how it's going to sort out as the film goes on. I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, that's good. And I don't want to punch you now.
And I would argue it's because, he's had character growth. We've seen the capacity in him. We've seen growth and built and so forth. So now when he's taken apart, you're like, oh, but I know the pieces are there. Right. I agree there. And as Patrick says, and also sort of from a plot perspective, Rei being not there pushes him towards Kaoru, and one of the downsides, if you will, one of the weaknesses, if you will, of the end of the TV series is that Shinji develops this instant fascination with Kaoru, and they're suddenly spending all this time together. It's like, yeah, but you've got Rei and Asuka, all these other characters are around too, but this kind of much more kind of makes sense plot wise. As they
Yeah,
start hanging
Shinji's
out.
not hanging out with his dad.
No.
Ray's not responding to him, and there's like literally, it's pointed out, there's literally nobody else
Yeah.
there. It's like,
Yeah.
so that him gravitating towards the only other living being who will talk to him absolutely makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like that's how they're going to develop the relationship.
Right, absolutely. Speaking of relationship, Laser Eyes is saying in the chat, I bet Kaoru gets all the ladies. I bet Kaoru gets everything that moves.
Yeah.
I don't think
Pretty much.
Kaoru cares.
I think Kaoru just kind of goes, yes. The answer is yes.
Yeah.
The answer is yes.
He's one of those where it's a rainy day and that beam of sunlight comes out on him.
Yes, exactly.
Everybody else, it's soaking rain and it's this beautiful sunny day right for him as he walks along. If he's under like an overhang or in like a tunnel, the sunlight comes down and finds him. Like, he's on the subway in a beam of sunlight. How the hell is this happening? Oh, sorry, it's just me.
Oh,
He goes to the grocery store. The doors just magically open for him. They're automatic doors. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Like in another. Anyway. Yeah, and so they sit down and they start playing the piano. And what poor animator spent months animating this scene?
Yeah.
Not to mention the later scene.
Yeah.
Because boy, do they put all of their effort. And granted, we now live in a post-K-On!, post-Haruhi Suzumiya, post-Sound Euphonium world where we now expect this. You kind of can't get away with faking it, or folks notice. But oh my gosh!
Right.
Dang.
Would you ever see the director's cut of this?
Mm-mm.
Where Ray comes out in a ball gown and lays on the
Oh,
piano.
that's
and
right.
sings?
Yeah, and I did see that scene, which was really good.
Ah, that would have been a scream.
Welcome to
Fabulous
Circle
Sega
Pines,
Brothers.
everyone.
Yeah, this is where it breaks through Ray's not being the same Ray, and all of a sudden, oh my gosh, through the power of music. Which I mean is kind of what's going on with those two. It's kind of the power of
Yeah.
music. It's like coming together in the power of music.
Well, you know what that whole scene took place of for me was the combination of scenes actually took place of the fact that Shinji knows how to play cello in the TV series. So
True.
that's not
Yeah.
addressed. So you address that Shinji has some type of musical talent.
That's right.
And the fact that there was the one episode where Asuka and Shinji have to act in tandem.
Yes.
The one angel. So because as they both have to pilot the same Ava, so it's important that they're in sync. So this is the way for them to get in sync. And instead of having someone just go idiot Shinji or Gendo's heart-warm, bright,
Loving fatherly
father
attitude,
thing attitude and stuff. You actually have somebody who just sits there who guides him along, but in a way that's just like, I'm not going to emotionally damage you to get you to do this thing, So we're going to have fun with this, right?
Exactly.
And plus, I have my permanent beam of sunshine and I'm a beautiful voice. There you go.
Totally. No, it's a great point. It's the power of synchronicity in a very gentle, friendly way.
Yeah.
Of just try it. And I do appreciate the fact that one of the lines in there is I'm not very good. Well, you practice. You just do it a lot. That's all it is, and you don't have to beat yourself about it. You just do it and have fun doing it, and you'll get better as you do it.
Which just occurred to me, which is a lot better and different than when Masato just said point and shoot.
Yeah.
Point and shoot.
Exactly.
Yeah. Shoot.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
See, this is a point where I would have loved to have seen more Mari Illustrious.
Agreed. Yes. Yeah. I was saddened that there wasn't twice as much Mari in this movie.
Because I think, the idea of practice, like that would have been the perfect thing to be like, look at Mari.
Mm-hmm.
She's done the practice. Look how good she is.
Yeah.
Shinji, you're just as capable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, okay.
Yeah, totally.
That you two can sing Japanese lullabies as you're slaying things.
You
And
two
then
can sing Ethel Merman's Greetings. No, wait, not this again. No, we're not going back here.
fly me to the moon. And then we get sort of this almost final episode of Evangelion kind of thing, where it gets all abstract. And we get this very visually interesting thing. This whole scene with the clouds reminded me of Robot Carnival. The cloud segment of that.
Yeah.
All of this gorgeous stuff with the like sketchy horses riding through the notes and all the visuals there. I do have to wonder if this isn't again just kind of a callback to those sequences of saying, we can do this too. This is also an element of Evangelion. And instead of using it to kind of try to explain the psychology of our characters, we're going to use it emotionally to signify the what our characters are feeling, as opposed to kind of what they're thinking or so forth and so on. As much as I appreciated those scenes in the Evangelion TV series for what they were trying to do, like interesting animation techniques, this didn't. There was a quality to that in the TV series that felt a bit like it was replacing something else, right? Where it's like this is not the ending you thought it was going to be. Whereas this felt more natural, right? This felt more like it is a little bit padding-esque, but it still kind of fits into the overall tone of the movie. I don't know what you guys thought.
I mean, again, I liked where this film was going, so I could appreciate the light touch that they were getting through with this. Is like, here is somebody who is accessing Shinji in a way that is truly connective. So it's like they're sharing this music, they're sharing this experience, and it's like, okay, I like the way it's done. There's not bullying. There's not like,
healthy.
Reward. Yeah, there's not like reward and punishment. No, this is just, you know what I mean? This is a very interesting sort of way to get about what is going on in the relationship there. So it's like, okay, cool. I gotta do that.
And you actually see Shinji responding to it in a healthy way, where he's just like, hey, the one scene where he's just like, hey, let's just stay out here for a little bit longer, and I want to show you the stars, and have a meaningful conversation afterwards, and at the end of it, he just felt better about things at that moment in time before that gets ripped all away. But as he's going
Karu
back,
had a long life. Sorry.
So, but at this entire time, I'm watching this, and I'm like going, okay, we're definitely having these Yuri moments, and Yaoi moments, and and it's fine, and I'm going through this, and I'm just like, it's actually nice for Shinji. Shinji's actually feeling good about things, and even when he flubs up and gets embarrassed, it's okay. He knows it's okay. It's just kind of like from a silent voice where he finally realizes, hey, can I be happy? He's kind of having that moment there. And the whole time I'm thinking of this, and it's really nice and all, I'm thinking two things. First of all, I'm thinking about, Kanji really prepared him for a new type of relationship. Number one. And number two, I'm like going, so how are they going to pop off Karu's head in this one?
Carefully.
Carefully.
Yes, exactly.
Well, is this pretty much the only time that Shinji has had like sort of a meaningful, relaxing conversation in at least all of the films? Like,
heck,
I think even for the TV,
Yeah.
So it's like, this is.
I would argue he has a few with. I would say in Eva 2, like in the aquarium with his friends.
Okay.
Right. It's a fairly. It's awkward, but it's it's fairly healthy.
But this seems like the most like connective discussion he's had with anybody.
Absolutely.
If only he'd gone to dinner with his father, they could have had this moment.
Exactly right. I'm sure.
Which leads up to the really effed up moment.
Well,
with the shirt.
But I do really appreciate, going back to this point about kind of the BL feel of this, is that they could have gotten along a lot stronger with those vibes. And I appreciate that, like, Kaoru doesn't push. Kaoru isn't, leaning in on him all the time, isn't, breathing in his ear or anything along those lines. You read BL manga and yaoi manga and all that kind of stuff, and they, there's an insistence to a lot of that feels a little rapey at times. And there's none of that in this. Kaoru is just, hey, I like spending time with you. Full stop. It's very sweet, actually.
You've got a piece of rice in your cheek.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then to your point, the shirt. I still don't understand why this scene is here when he gets Kaji's shirt, because it's never referenced again. There's no reason why they would have to recycle shirts. And I can't think of anybody in the base who would feel a need to send a message to Shinji this way. Right? This isn't Kaoru's MO. This isn't Gendo's MO. I like the revelation, but I just don't understand what its purpose was.
Kaji's shirt.
Yeah.
My read is that, okay, so at the beginning of the movie, the engineer guy on the ship makes a comment about Kaji. Oh, so this is what Kaji meant by her being, Sato being the way that she is.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said Kaji.
Yeah.
It's not Kaji.
It's Toji.
Toji.
That's what I thought. I was just
Toji.
like,
Sorry.
Toji.
Yeah.
Sorry. I just immediately went in a different direction.
Yeah.
But Toji is, I think it was a reminder a purposeful reminder to Shinji that he had a friend,
Right?
And it was Toji, and that was the person that he was probably supposed to be with. I think it was, and I can never remember his name, the college instructor of Gendo who plays his second.
Oh yeah.
I think that was him. I think that was him giving him the shirt because he's prepping Shinji for what he tells him.
That makes sense.
Yeah, when they play the game.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Now I got confused. Now here's the thing: I was going to go with the Kaji thing. I was just like, did I misremember that? Okay, was it Kaji? Well, it would make sense because he's mentioned early on in the movie, and maybe that's Kaji is still skulking around down there somewhere, trying to figure out how to beat Nerve. And he sends Shinji his shirt, and it says, it's basically saying, "Hey, remember, I told you to protect Misato."
Yeah.
So that's where I was going to go.
Possible.
Yeah.
Yep. Interesting. We'll have to wait for 3.0, 1.0 to find out.
Yeah. I was going to say, we'll see what threads are pulled together in that one.
Exactly.
Because I thought literally the shirt was just, here's a reminder.
Yeah.
Well,
I said it as a reminder. I couldn't figure out where it came from. It was kind of my confusion. Yeah.
Right. And I mean, given that, so much stuff is automated, et cetera, who knows how the thing folds shirts. But,
right.
to me, it was, I just took it at that value where it's like, okay, this is a reminder there were other people. You were associated with other people, and there's a reason why they're not wearing their shirt.
Yeah.
It's like, oh. So that's his looking down. It's like, yeah, okay, another reminder that so much has happened and so much time has passed that there's, I've got this shirt because it just comes up in the cycle because there's nobody here to take the shirt themselves.
And to that point, the next scene we do get kind of the confirmation as to what's happened.
So, did anyone else get a 2001 vibe when he was eating the tray, the food off the tray?
Oh, not 2001 specifically, but that's an interesting point. Yeah.
Yeah. So. Yeah, because in 2001, that's like kind of what the tray looks like.
Yeah.
That's kind of what the Ford looks like.
Totally.
The paste. Here, have the paste.
Yeah, it's a good call.
Here's the flavored paste.
And I just realized if Nerve is now, above Earth, basically, that could be kind of what they're hinting there, is that you're not like physically on the surface of the planet anymore. That's interesting. Yeah, I like that.
This is your space food ration.
Yeah, pretty much. and so we see kind of what's left of everything, as Shinji is indeed confronted with what he did. And in the chat, they were pointing out, there's, they weren't telling Shinji for very specific reasons. It is one of the difficult things about Shinji is that, he is kind of the key to everything. And if you tell him too much, it is possible he will go off in the wrong direction and blow everything up. And so I think there's an intent to have kid gloves on with Shinji, which unfortunately backfires, as is often.
Boy, does it.
Yeah.
Turns out, if you don't tell people things, they don't have enough context to make good decisions. Imagine.
Amazing how that works.
I know. Very, very weird. I also appreciate just kind of the visuals of Shinji in the radiation suit and Kaoru, just going out in his shirt and pants.
Yep.
The fact that, this isn't a problem for me, and Shinji doesn't really comment on that, and I do wonder.
Yeah, it is a deafening silence with regards to that, because it's like, why is Shinji so suited up? And
Yeah.
Oh, I get you.
Yeah. And of course, they've been telegraphing that since 1.0.
Yeah.
For Kaoru, but still. So Shinji's not having a great day. And so we get, and then we get the scene with what's his name? I always call him Obi-Wan Kenobi because there's a AMV which takes the trailer for The Phantom Menace and recuts it with all Evangelion characters. And Obi-Wan is him, which kind of fits.
Nice.
Anyway, so they play some shogi, Japanese chess. And here's where it's kind of funny watching the scene because I was like, okay, so he's revealing all the stuff about, we, folks watching this movie series don't know all the backstory about Shinji's mom.
Yep.
This is how we get that across, as we kind of reveal where everything came from, and the fact that Unit 1 is indeed technically Yui.
Yeah.
With all of the little Rey clones inside, which that's not creepy at all.
No, not at all.
No.
Oh, and the big creepy clone head. Oh,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There's nightmare fuel.
There's nightmare fuel. Absolutely. And you get to see Yui as well as a rather recognizable young woman on the right-hand side of that photo. I don't know if anyone else noticed the girl with the long auburn hair, who might just be the mother of someone we know. But yeah. And when we find out that the unit is and then we get the right. Well, it's not Rey. It's Lilith basically. Let's see here. And so and then we get very much an Evangelion TV weirdo sequence of Shinji going down the hall. And having his kind of little freak out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an odd. Have some Prozac stat.
Exactly. And again, I think this is a bit of end of Evangelion here, and a little bit of end of the TV series as well, of just very, very psychedelic sequence. Which I think does work very well. I mean, it did get across the fact that he's kind of listing psychologically.
Yeah.
Again. And there were moments during that when he's walking through the the maze of nerve, the damaged nerve, no pun intended. I kept half expecting him to pitch over the rail.
Yeah. Well, it's very lame, actually.
Yeah.
Just visually, on the bridge and creepy things going on. Yeah, kind of. Well, yeah. Shinji's not having the best of days. And so then Shinji kind of runs away again. Not like physically, but Kaoru comes in and Shinji's like, I don't want to pilot. And I'll admit that this scene in the moment, I got a little frustrated by. Because as an audience member, I'm like, dude, I get it. We don't have to have this scene in every single movie. It's fine. On the other hand, oddly, to me, Shinji's reaction felt more like it's not so much an absolute refusal to pilot. It's more an I don't feel like I don't want to pilot. It's a
Right.
I'm not in an emotional state. I don't want to have anything to do with that. And so it is different from the kind of panicked reaction of or the confused reaction of episode 1 TV and the refusal in 2.0. It has a different tenor to it. So it didn't frustrate me as much as if it was thing, but it was kind of like, okay, here are all the lines, just write one right after the other. Can we move beyond this, please?
Well, at this point, the reason why it's more palpable, why it's more easy to understand, even though it's still annoying, is that okay, if you're going to have the breakdown that tells you, "F this noise, I don't want to do this," this is it. This is the culmination.
Yeah.
Whereas before, before the other two times, it was more along the lines of, like I said before, I wanted to go to town and buy some power converters. That's what it feels like. Just being whiny and just being, just a little whatever. And but at this point, you're just like, yeah, you have an empathy for that reaction.
Well. And to that point, before when he didn't want to pilot, and I'm just realizing that it's not from what you're saying. Before when he was running away for selfish reasons. He didn't want to be in danger. He didn't want to do the thing. Now he's like, no, if I do that, I blow up the world. Like that seems like a really bad idea just all around. It's not about me not wanting to do it. It's about like this leads to chaos and pain and death. So yeah, I think that also helps.
Yeah.
John, I'm curious because I know you've found Shinji running away somewhat frustrating at times. What was your feeling with this scene?
After the Shogi revelations, I could empathize with Shinji in this instance, where it was like, that's what I keep saying. It's like this film was better for me than the other Eva films because his mother is the unit that he operates, and it's like that is a lot to wrap your head around that you don't have a mother because she's somewhere in this giant like potentially earth destroying thing. So you're freaked out by the whole experience to begin with through the TV series and the two other films. Now you find out this is like there's really, really creepy about Unit 1. And it's like, yeah, psychologically I can see where now it's no longer really about just I want to get away from here. Now it's like there are really good solid concrete reasons now where I just can't handle this. I am unable to wrap my mind around what in the hell is happening and what's going to happen. And it's like, do I end up in space for 14 years or do I end up wrecking the planet?
Well,
or the universe, you know what I mean?
When you stop and think about it, everyone else has had 14 years to process all of this.
Yeah.
He's had a good night's sleep.
Pretty much.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah. So for this, I know it's weird for me to say. It's like, I don't want to pilot the Eva. Yes. Okay. Shinji. Okay. I feel like, no offense to your whining, griping, moaning, fetching, but I feel this is a legitimate, I don't want to pilot this thing. These things are all just way the hell beyond the pale for me. It's like, okay, I'm there with you. I now personally feel like I am also beyond the pale of how this stuff works. Like, I wouldn't do it either.
On a side note, I have to say, I forget which one of you said it, but I thought it would be a great album title, The Shogi Lessons.
Oh, nice.
Shogi Lessons.
Yes.
Yeah,
I like it a lot.
Shogi Lessons.
Shogi Lessons.
Well, enough Shogi shows up in enough shows, so...
True, yeah.
Enough Shogi shows up, enough shows. Wow.
And
See, I thought that was fast.
Yeah, exactly.
and somebody finally takes the burden off of Shinji for once.
Yeah.
Suddenly somebody's like, no, I will take this off of you and take it on myself, because that's what friends do. Misato never did that. No one else ever did that for Shinji. And it's such a wonderful, powerful moment of realizing, oh yeah, this is one of the reasons why Shinji is so messed up, because he has no like healthy relationships.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm laughing because it's just so frustrating and sad.
Yeah, the people that he trusted, and Masato, I kind of got the feeling that Shinji did genuinely love her and like had a affection for her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He has a head exploding collar put on by her. Like, oh, wow, that's a betrayal. Hey, I also thought it was very interesting that he couldn't get it off himself, and yet somebody shows up, here and touches it. It comes off, and he puts it on himself. It's like, huh. I thought it was going to go off if you tried to take it off. Yeah, like, you don't have the control button releasey thingy. How you? Okay. Another little nudge, nudge, wink, wink. This guy's special. Like, oh, yes, he is.
It was the ray of light.
Exactly. He's got rainbows coming out his butt. It's amazing.
And I just love this, also just kind of the imagery of this scene, because it starts with the two of them on opposite sides. Kaoru comes over to Shinji to take the collar off, and then they both sit down side by side. And John, I think you were the one. I think both of you were the ones talking about the perspective in EVA 2 of Shinji being below Gendo, and then the two of them, equal, and just the imagery to them of just two guys sitting side by side. It's a wonderful, powerful image of friendship here. It will last forever.
At least the next 20 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. But and I think to your point too, John. I think this sells Kaoru a lot better too. Where he's not just a mysterious guy. You're like, okay, he's a nice young man.
Yes.
And there's a genuine relationship here.
Well, you make a point there. There's in the TV series, Kaoru there's a sinister thing to him. Mm-hmm. Even though he's wide open, he's sinister. He knows what's going to happen. He knows when he's going to do it, and he knows he's going to screw Shinji up in the end. Mm-hmm. So there's a sinister aspect about him in the television series. Yeah. Here, he's just kind of like, okay, well, I know what's going to happen to me, but it's okay because I actually like you, so I'm willing to do this. Yeah. As opposed to a television series where you don't get really any of that. You just immediately get to go, oh, they're in love, kind of thing. And in this, you're just kind of like, oh, they like each other, but they're also, both of them are working towards a goal, and they're doing it in a healthy way.
Right. Yeah. Totally. So then they pilot up, they suit up, and get in. As I was watching this, there's this weird thing in the back of my head that's running through a lot of movies where I continually ask myself, if I were making the announcement trailer for this movie, what would I select as the clip? And it has to be just one continuous chunk of the movie that I would release to the public. They have no idea this movie exists, but I show them this clip. And for me, it would be the moment, and we'll see if I can get it here. No, that's both of them. There's a moment of Shinji with this is the clips of this are not being very helpful to me, and I'm trying to find the right moment. But there's a moment of Shinji in the
plug.
The plug, and it's just him there it is, and it's him in this dark plug suit, fitting it on with this confident expression on his face, and then the color goes past, and then you see Kaoru next to him, smiling at him, and Shinji looks over at him. I'm like, that's my teaser. That's how I announce Evangelion 3.33. Can you imagine how the world would have exploded if we just showed a trailer of Shinji in this completely new plug suit, and then Kaoru's next to him piloting and going, okay, movie's coming in a year.
Meltdowns, the fanfic.
Absolutely.
The endless line of Yaoi fans outside the theater.
I was gonna say all the squeeze of the fangirls
Yes,
and all of the rage of the fans.
Yeah, and so down they go. And so first off, clearly these filmmakers have seen Terminator and Terminator 2 with the skulls. And then they go up to take the spears off of Lilith. Now, what did you all think about this scene? Because so obviously, they're going after the spears of the spears there.
Longius.
Yeah, Longinus and Cassius. And then obviously Vil arrives to attack them. Kaoru suddenly gets reservations, but Shinji, soldiers on. And he goes to do that despite literally everybody telling him not to grab the spears.
Yeah.
There was a part of me where I was like, Shinji, please just listen. Shinji, please just, you're making a dumb decision again. Can we have a movie where Shinji doesn't make dumb decisions a lot? Wouldn't
be Evangelion if it wasn't.
Yeah. That's the thing, is there was a part of me which got a little frustrated with Shinji's actions here, where it felt like, and I get it, they're trying to express that despite everything going on, he's finally decided to take action, and he's not going to let go of that by, stopping. He's going to get through it because, darn it, I finally made a decision. But it did feel a little melodramatic to me. It felt a little much to me. But what did you guys think?
So I'm gonna get this out of my system. So when he's crawling over Lilith to grab the spheres of destiny, whatever the hell they are.
Well, they are, yeah.
He's saying, he literally says, "But these are the spheres. These are the spears that I want." And I'm just thinking Star Wars, and I'm just thinking, these are not the droids. And Carol is like, "Wait, no, these are not the spears." And I'm just like, "Oh my God, this is Mos Eisley right here." So yes, sorry, I had to get that out of my system because that's literally what it felt like. The whole, as Shinji is doing this, and Kaoru is just sitting there, and he's got that great expression. They really did that well, where he's just like, something's not right. Yeah. Something's not right. I gotta think this through. Yeah. And he's trying to think it through, hoping that Shinji's gonna just take it slow. Then Asuka comes in and just starts hammering at him, and you got, Marie up there, pounding away with her sniper rifle, and they're all yelling at Shinji at one point. Just stop it. And Kaoru's just like very calmly going, Shinji, wait a second. And like you said, Shinji's just soldiering on, and he's just like, "No, I'm going to do the thing for once in my effing life. I'm going to do the thing. Do the thing. This is what I need to do." And it's just all so chaotic, and nobody, the closest person that has the ability to shut him up and shut him down is Kaoru, and he can't do it because everyone else is just screaming. At this point, it's just all noise.
True.
It's all noise, and Shinji's just like, "Me, whatever. I'm doing it. I'm doing the thing." And Kaoru is just like, once he realizes what has happened, and he realizes what Gendo has done, and he finally realizes who he is, that he is the actual angel. He just gives up, and he's just like, "Okay, here we go. This is what's supposed to happen." And I think Shinji was at that point where, like you're just like, just listen. But I don't think he would ever have been able to listen through this whole thing. Through this whole thing, they were just. Asuka had the ability to tell and scream at him why not to. Kaoru had the ability to tell him, "No, this is why. If you trust me, don't do this." Marie could have come down and probably just kicked all their asses and just there. But you know, it's just so much noise. It's just noise and purpose on Shinji's part, and just for once he's just like, okay, remember all the TV series how you wanted to kick me in the throat and you know curb stomp me because I'm so wishy-washy? Not now.
Yeah.
And that's the very point where we're all just like going, no, be wishy-washy.
Right. Yeah.
Take a
Be
breather,
conflicted.
idiot.
Point. Yeah,
Be
you're absolutely
conflicted.
right. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. There isn't an aspect of Shinji fighting back against his previous self in a way that is ultimately unhelpful. That's just kind of Shinji's life, isn't it?
Well, you know, for me watching this, it's just like, okay, Shinji, you're making the last stand here. You've had a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
There's all this chaos happening. You've learned some really uncomfortable and uncool truths.
Yep.
And you're really girding your loins at the worst possible moment. In the worst possible way.
Mm-hmm.
But Lord love you, you're doing something.
Yeah.
You know, you are actively doing something. I would have been much happier, and it's, you know, it isn't, but it's a wish. I wish it could have been.
Yeah.
I would have been much happier if he had just dropped the F-bomb to them all and said, I don't care what happens. And just yanked the spears out.
Yeah.
I wanted
hear
that desperately to be the moment where it's like, this ends
Good call. Yeah.
I have, you know, I have had it up to here with you people.
Yep.
This ends it. But it's like, you never... It might be in there somewhere, but it is not telegraphed in a way that you could be like, okay.
I suspect that's kind of the intent of the scene. That's kind of where they were going. But you're right. Like, it's not there. Like, they don't give us that moment of... like you say, F you all, at least this is a finality.
Yeah, this last stand here on the hill, I have made it, even though we all die.
Yeah. And Patrick in the chat is saying he finds it bizarre that in the end he just does what his daddy wants him to. I think what makes this different is that he doesn't know this is what his daddy wants him to do. He is unwittingly acting in that, but he has no idea that this is Gendo's plan. And so so he does the thing, things start to change. Even Rei notices, and I love that little moment where he's talking about another Ayanami, and you can see she realizes, wait, who am I?
Yeah. Although I loved her scythe.
Yes.
Down at, death.
Yeah, more Rei with the scythe, please. That's pretty cool. Although I would have expected, although Asuka would be good with the scythe as well.
Yeah, but Dark Rei does. She's like the harbinger of death.
Yes.
You know.
And then again, bad things start to happen.
Because that doesn't happen in any of you.
No.
Ever.
Yeah.
This is a first time.
First time.
So something happened here at this point in the movie that hasn't happened to me since the original Girl with the Dragon Tattoo movie, where I forgot about a certain large aspect of the movie. In Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, you forget that there's a whole subplot, and you're meant to forget. By the way, you're not supposed to remember. There's a whole subplot of her and her brother in the movie, and it comes out. I'm sorry, in the book, in the book where it comes out. And here, when Misato shows up, I'm like, oh yes, now I remember that. And where she shows up in the ship to try and save the day. Yeah. And it's just like going, because you don't think about that at all. And they stop showing Misato to that point. You're like, oh yeah, there is that. Yeah. There is that.
I completely agree. Yeah. When they showed up again, I was like, oh yeah, Misato. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That ship. And all that thing. Yeah.
Right.
I wonder if they fixed the hole.
Yeah, you get a very Yamato scene, I must admit, of all the guns blazing, shooting.
Which I loved.
Oh, yeah.
It's great fun. Like, yeah, cool.
And again, I'm absolutely certain that is a callback to Yamato. or anything else. Yeah, and so get some fun stuff. Asuka goes full beast mode, which I'm sure a lot of folks were looking forward to. Like, if Mari can do it, why can't Asuka? Oh, yes, she can. And what's nice about this is that Asuka has been kind of on the short end of the stick in a lot of these battles, where she's like done the thing, but you very much feel like she's kind of put upon as the Eva pilot, where she kind of goes out and does the thing and comes back, and then goes out and does the thing and comes back. And she's not really appreciated all that much. So you don't really get a crowning moment of awesome for Asuka until here at the end, where she is really just pulling out all the stops. And it's just kind of fun to see Asuka in that, full Asuka in rage moment, where she is just doing everything she can.
I was thankful for not hearing, I didn't know an Ava could do that. Now we all know what an Ava can do.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Boy, do we.
That's impossible.
No.
And so we have our Teary scene with Kaoru as Shinji realizes what's going on and can do absolutely nothing to stop it. Also, full credit for the animation of this. And obviously I'm not going to show it to you, but the way they show that happening makes it extremely clear what's happening without it feeling tasteless.
Yes.
Well,
yeah.
What I was going to say is that I appreciated that death a lot better than I did in the television series because of that reason. It was just like you saw it, like you saw it happen, but it was done in such a way that you see the separation, there's the scene, and then right. And whereas opposed to in the television series, he's got him. She's just got him, and he squeezes it at the little head.
Yeah.
and I remember watching that for the first time, going,
yeah.
no.
Yeah.
No, that didn't just happen.
Right.
Yes, it did.
Yes, it did.
Yeah. Well done, Captain Laser Eyes, by the way, in the chat. But yeah, no, I agree. And there are plenty of anime that go
lose your head over that joke.
Exactly. There are plenty of anime that go very gory with that kind of stuff, and would absolutely show brain matter spattering everywhere. So I just very much appreciate the way they got it across, where it's definitely R-rated, but it's not like it's not made in abyss. I'll put it that way. And then things go from bad to worse. Put it that way.
It's the end of the world.
And no one feels fine.
No.
And we get this, I'll be honest, kind of weird ending where Asuka sort of rescues Shinji and pulls him out, and Rei comes over, and they all just kind of walk off into the sunset together. Because on the one hand, I was like, thank you for bringing back the three main characters together and like synchronizing them back up. Like I like a movie which ends with me wanting to write fan fiction about what happens like the next day, right? And I don't mean like that kind of fan fiction, but I mean like it makes me wonder. Okay, what are those conversations going to be like? Like what are those interactions going to be like?
So what do you want for dinner? I want hot pot. Oh, great. Let's go to the store. Oh, there's no mushrooms. No, wait a minute. No.
I was thinking more along the lines of Eurocamp.
Just all go camping and sit out by the lake and watch the stars.
Watch Mount Fuji melt.
Yeah.
But
is that a star? No, that's the fourth impact. Oh, good. Let's get out our solar reflector
today.
Yeah. Oh, how wonderful. They say you can hear everyone scream when they burn in hell and this thing goes off like a nuclear bomb. Oh, cool. That's neat.
But it did just feel kind of an awkward ending. Just sort of tonally to me. I don't know. What did you guys think?
It felt to me like it was telegraphing a sequel.
Oh, you did, certainly.
Well, first I'm going to rewind a little bit and talk about the Yui head, zombie head.
Okay. Yeah.
Gigantor head. that Gendo stands in front of, and has a creepy little smile as it explodes in blood or whatever. And he just stands there and he's like, "We are proceeding as normal," or whatever he says. And he turns around and walks away. You're just like,
The Human Instrumentality Project.
Yep.
God,
Everything
I
is
hate
proceeding
you.
as I have
You know what I'm saying?
foreseen.
God, I hate you, you smug little bastard. But then, okay, so fast forward to the end thing. The thing I think annoyed me was that it wasn't so much that the three of them are walking off into the sunset as it is Asuka does the thing of opening the tube, the plug, as Shinji and Gendo had done for Rei.
Yeah.
So she opens it to go in and do, we think, oh, okay, we're going to have that kind of a moment.
Yeah.
And you see Shinji just a lump of emo flesh, just curled up in the fetal position down in the plug. And she just doesn't even want to frickin' deal with it. And she walks away. And I think that would have been great to have ended it right then and there.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
And then we would resolve how the three of them get together.
And
that would have been,
what I would have done is she walks off, and then we cut over, and we see Rei looking down at Shinji.
Yeah.
And that's where I cut.
Yeah. And that would have been a much more satisfying. But instead, she comes back,
Yeah.
abuses the guy again.
Uh-huh.
After he's just lost the one guy that the one person in his life that's actually treated him like not a puppy to set on fire, but actually a human being. And so she's just like, can't you do anything? You're gonna carry the bag, and he just wants to die.
Yeah.
That's all he wants. He just he doesn't say it, but that's what he wants. And then the three of them go up into the sunset. She's basically dragging him along by the arm. Ray's off to the side, and he's just kind of slumped. And I'm like going, God, can we have Truck Kun and just end this right now?
That would have been a good part of that ship that fell out of
Right.
formation.
Right, yeah.
Just to
there it
have
is.
Misato fly over and have a destroyer fall out. Right. End of film. Nice. Yeah, it just felt to me like this is just okay, guys, let's wrap it. I have an idea what we're gonna do for the next film. You know what I mean? I wasn't particularly satisfied with it. Shinji is possible for this kid to get more of a mental mess.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's.
I guess that's part of my frustration with this is I don't know why we needed this scene at all.
Yeah,
I don't know. It didn't really tell me anything.
No, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. Is you have the three main character people, and they're all now here. Look at them; they're on the screen, and marvelous 3D supervision.
Yeah.
You've waited for all three to be together, and here they are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like it doesn't drive any of the plot points necessarily ahead. Asuka is being Asuka. She's abusing Shinji again. Yep. Except for now, Shinji's just not angsty emo kid. Shinji is psychologically shattered to watch the one person that was decent to him, one person that gave a crap about Shinji as a human being, die.
Yeah. And
it's like, well, we don't need Asuka the character type.
Yeah.
We don't
exactly.
That, we know how she is. We know we watched these films up to here, which is. So yeah, I felt it was genuinely just here we go. Tune in for the next episode. What do you see?
Yeah, it's sort of fan service.
Yeah,
in the non edgy
it's
way.
The worst
right.
I was just gonna say it's the worst doujinshi ever.
Yes. It absolutely yes. That's actually a great way to put it. This does feel like somebody wrote the doujinshi at the end of watching the movie. It's like, oh, okay.
Everything terrible happens, and they walk off together.
No. So a bit of a misstep there. But yeah, that is that. And then we get our next episode preview, as we always do. Which I did a bit of research about this. It's weird. There's one big long Eva fight of just Evas fighting each other. Turns out they filmed this. This is all guys in motion capture suits, which they then import into a computer and then animated as EVA units. So these are all stuntmen. They're stunt actors.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Which is kind of interesting. Not sure why they went that direction. Again, not complaining.
Sometimes just because you can.
Right.
Yes,
absolutely.
maybe.
It's also kind of interesting because I think at this point in the franchise,
we all do that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I do think it is fairly smart of them to say we ain't gonna tell you nothing.
Yeah.
We're gonna show you some Evas fighting Evas potentially kind of things. That's it. That's all you get. And you gotta wait to find out what's going on, which should have to be a long wait.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
Which, I mean, if it was going to be that kind of fighting action and that kind of motion capture action, like I said, 3's been on the upswing for me. So
Yeah,
sure,
absolutely.
hey, that's kind of cool. I might be interested in that.
By the way, it was between the release of this movie and 3.0, 1.0 it took 8.5 years to get to that point. So it was It was a bit of a long wait.
There were story problems.
There
Day
were many problems. Yes.
You know what it was? It was every day that the staff came in and said, I swear to God, if you do this again to Shinji, I swear to God, I'm going to take a 2x4 and just smash everything in the studio.
I mustn't run away.
I will
What happened
set
to all
this
the
mofo
animation
on
that we
fire.
spent a year on? Oh, somebody got pissed off and burned it. So we're back to square one. How many times has this happened? 6 times
This week.
So now 8.5 years later, finally we only had certain parts of the unit work on certain other parts of the film, so none of them could know what was happening at the same time. Oh, that's how you got the film in can.
And Ken Lejar, you're absolutely correct. Is that Anno worked on other things? He had other pans in the fire.
Sure.
But still, for the EVA fans, it was a long wait.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But yeah, so at the end of EVA 3.33, on a scale of 1 to 10, how eager are each of you to find out what happens in the final movie? Because this can go many ways.
Yeah.
And it probably will. All of them. Oh, crap.
The answer will be yes.
Yeah.
So again, when I watched this and ended it at 2 a.m. thereabouts last night.
Steve likes to torture himself.
As I'm sitting on my couch going,
I worked all day just to sit and watch this. What's wrong with me?
Oh my god. No. As I felt we could end it all right here.
Yeah.
I felt it could be, okay, we're done. This is it. We're done. And even though I'm not crazy about the ending, this would be fine. This would be a fine place to end it. The trailer did not give me much to want to see it, honestly.
Sure.
I felt it was a little chaotic, but I recognize it for what it was. It was 2:05 a.m.
Yeah.
So, but I would say, having to think about it, I would be, trepidatious.
Okay.
Just because I don't know. Because honestly, okay, we've avoided the 4th impact. Gendo says this is all according to plan, whatever the
Heck, that is.
that is. And so I think that would be probably the only thing. Honest to God, I think the reason why that would actually pay money to see this in a theater on the big screen is to see how Gendo dies. I want him to die the most horrific death.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I want him to go, I was wrong, and then just slowly dissolve for something.
Oh, become the LCL.
I know exactly how I want Gendo to die, but I will get to that in a minute. John, how about you?
Well, 0, not wanting to see it at all. 10, meaning like
Right,
Eurocamp, the movie, where it's going to be an absolute must. I have also trepidation, but not in so much as seeing it, because I do want to see it, but will it truly be the end?
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm not like thirsting like all over the map for this. So I would say I'm comfortably somewhere in around a 7, because I want to see the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've enjoyed the growing pleasure at watching Eva to this point. So I want to see how this ends.
Yeah.
I want to see how it ends. I don't want to hear that this is just another delay period. The fourth impact's coming anyway, and this is just, we're going to go through another cycle of this. Be like,
so you don't want to see Krillin and Goku and Gohan and Piccolo go to Namek to get the Dragon Balls and the.
No.
If there is a scene of Shinji powering up in that movie, I would be so happy. I'll be honest.
Oh boy. Well, I mean, I'm sure there'll be in the next film a part where he's fighting and screaming.
Probably, yes.
So
that's a safe bet.
sort of like Power. But yeah, I want to see how are you going to land this thing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've seen how this is going up through here. We've seen how the TV show. We've seen where this has come along now. How are you going to land this? How are we going to come to a full resolution of everything that is Eva?
Yeah.
So
I swear to God, if it goes into a small cloud again, I'm going to drink so much more liquor. I'm going to rage on Baltimore City so hard.
Remember, the poster, the official poster for this movie, its tagline is "Bye bye all of Evangelion." So that is Anno's stated intent, whether it gets there or not.
Right. I mean, because I would be afraid that the ending we have with 3.33 would be the ending of 3.0 and plus 1.0. Is that it's going to be like, hey, we've stopped the thing for now. And then they walk off into the sunset again and be like, oh, no, dude, no.
I doubt that, because none of the other Evas have had that kind of an ending. Like, there's always been something. Even, it hasn't just been, well, and then the legend continues.
Right, but I mean, like conclusive. No more red water, no more red earth, or no more earth. The whole thing explodes. And end of this damn ride.
Yeah, I'm sitting at a solid 7, just like you, John. I'm intrigued. I'm hopeful. But part of the problem is that, anime often doesn't stick its landing. In general, but also just there is so much potential for the end of these movies to just go completely off the rails, and even be just an unsatisfying ending. Like being okay, that is an ending. Like you did end it, but it didn't feel earned. It felt weird. It felt just like where did everything go? I am fairly. I'm willing to bet we will get an ending. Whether we're happy with that ending or not, I'm unsure. We will see. And the way what I want to see happen is I want Rei to walk up to Gendo, put her hands around his throat, and goo him. And gooify him the way she does in End of Evangelion.
Yeah.
And just convert him and just have him bloop.
Can she kick him square in the jewels first?
Shinji does that, and then Rei does the goo.
Yeah. Okay, I totally with that.
Nothing but terror, chaos, and awful and pain for Gendo.
Yeah,
that's just what I want for him. Because he's just.
Or maybe the ending is that Gendo's right, and that what he's doing and what he's done makes the world like a Garden of Eden paradise.
I'm sure.
It's Gendo. Well, no, but and that's where at the end of the film everybody runs out of the theater and like sets the place on fire. Like Gendo was actually the good guy. Oh hell no!
It ends with everybody applauding Gendo.
Yeah,
that's how it ends. I would not put it past Otto. Like, Otto would do that.
But Shinji Mind Break actually had that ending.
That's the thing. The tagline for it, the ending you never saw coming. Like, damn straight.
If that's the ending, I think we would have heard about it by now, because I think there would have been arsons. I think you're right. Gosh.
Who is the most lovable father character of the year? Why, Gendo Ikari. Oh, yeah, he's a sweet guy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I was about to make a joke, which I'm not going to make.
You got 2 more minutes.
Oh no, that is not an on-air joke.
Not suitable for NSFW.
Anyway, yeah. We're gonna take a break. Thank you all so much. And we'll see you back here in just a couple minutes. There we go. And we're back. Hello, everyone. Oops. I don't think they can hear me. There we go. And now they can hear me.
No sound.
It's all good. I was just on the Zoom side of things. They don't need to hear me. It's fine. As long as you all in chat can hear me. It's all good. I'm talking to a video via Mime. Yeah, so let's see here. So that was Eva. Boy, I gotta admit, I'm glad we're watching the Rebuild films. I'm enjoying the Rebuild films. I'm not planning on going back to watch the Rebuild films anytime soon. It's a good experience. It's all good. But
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I saw all of them. We had talked about it before. I had seen all 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
And so this is the second time through. As much as I've enjoyed the rise of my consciousness to Eva, I will not go back and watch these.
I probably I'll go back and watch these before I rewatch the TV series. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I'm
That makes
certainly
sense.
not going
That
back to the
makes
TV
sense.
series.
Yeah.
I'll be interested to see after 3.0, 1.0 whether I will in future recommend to people who are like, hey, what is Evangelion? The rebuild films over the TV series. Right? Like, is that going to be the recommendation now? Or it's like, you don't need to watch the TV series. Like, it's if you're curious, you can, but watch the rebuild movies instead of the TV series. That'll be the litmus test.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the amount of time involved to enjoy what Eva has to offer. Yeah, geez, man, I think the films might be an easier way to go, even though they diverge from the TV show. And
Yeah.
The problem with it, the two problems with the TV show is, of course, the wishy-washiness of Shinji, which is, a lot of people complain about. It's the payoff for the television show that kills it for a lot of people.
Sure. Right.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like for me, whereas the thus far the rebuild movies are fine. I think that if you don't watch the television series, you can watch these and you'll be perfectly okay.
Yeah.
I don't think you need to have context by watching the television series.
Well, I think you get enough. You get enough of where this thing's going from 1, 2, and 3 to enjoy it. You're right. The TV series, it's like that's hard to recommend. They'll be like, oh, go through the whole thing, and then
Here's the
payoff
problem.
sucks.
The movies are equivalent to 20 episodes of the TV series in terms of length.
Oh.
I just ran the calculations. It's like 80% of the TV series to watch the movies.
But you still save 20%, right?
Yeah. Wow, that is a lot of anime. I did not realize these 4 films are like watching like that much of the show. Wow.
Yeah, I would never recommend somebody sit down and watch all 4 at once, though.
Probably not.
Stretch it out over like a month. Just give yourself some time.
Once a week, and not at 12:30.
Yes, exactly.
Watch it at noon as a matinee, then go and have a nice walk and maybe a nice refreshing glass of seltzer water, and then a healthy meal.
Speaking of watching things in sequence, OnCon 6 is coming up, December 4th. So in about a month, we'll be having our next OnCon right here on the channel. We'll have a couple of panels from Steve right over there. And we've got some other panelists lined up, at least one of which is new to OnCon. So you might have seen his work before. So it'll be 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. This upcoming December 4th. Different hours than usual, and you'll find out why when we actually do the con. Bit of a surprise for everyone as that comes up, but we'll otherwise have a very similar schedule. Unfortunately, no charity auction this year. I just don't have this session, because I just don't have enough stuff saved up for the charity auction. So it may return in future charity auctions, but just the community chest is empty at the moment, so to speak. But maybe in future.
Maybe an OnCon 7.
Maybe an OnCon 7. So
Certainly by OnCon 10.
There we go. Love the charity auction, but just not this time around. So so be aware, animeoncon.com as the website. Look forward to that. Folks in the chat, let us know what you've been watching lately. Any questions you have for the three of us. We've already talked a bit about the anime we've been watching and the other stuff we've been digging into. And so we can just kind of head into some of the other material. We have kind of a different setup this week. I'm kind of restructuring things, and in restructuring things, it kind of messed with my normal setup. So we're not going to have our typical kind of thing here, but we'll make it work. It's totally cool. So let's start by let's talk about the news. Unfortunately, I can't do any normal news stuff here. We're just going to have to dig into it, but I still do have the hat. Let me get the hat.
Ha!
Get the hat.
So we have no intro, but we have a hat. So good.
Which is always difficult. Yeah. Complicated. There we go. I think I can rearrange this so that I have the chat and the news. There we go. Cool. Yeah, let's just go into it. Star Wars Visions. Nice. I need to watch Star Wars Visions. Rebuilding your anime.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
One of the shorts in Anime Visions was submitted to the Oscars. So,
oh wow!
Fingers crossed there. Yeah, let's just go ahead and do this. And I just got to look through a little bit. Not a lot of news this week, full disclosure, but we will see what we can do. Welcome to the latest anime news for the week ending November 6th, 2021. But a different setup this week, but we're just going to dive right into it. TIFFCon is a content market affiliated with the Tokyo International Film Festival. It was held this week and featured two different seminars from anime companies discussing overseas distribution. This is interesting. Anime producers and CEOs Nao Hirasawa of Arch Inc. and Graphinica and Akira Takayama of Fanworks spoke at the Next Generation Anime Producers Plan for Overseas Collaboration and Production seminar, which sounds like an isekai title.
Oh yeah.
Discussing the upsides and challenges of global collaboration. Both emphasize the importance of building trust with international partners. No surprise there. Both business and personal level. Hirasawa also pointed out that making anime requires a long-term partnership and stressed the importance of having a partner who demonstrates their commitment to the project, saying that he even preferred dealing with companies who were willing to establish a branch office in Japan.
Huh.
So the bar is high. Both speakers talked about the challenge of dealing with differences in culture. Varying reactions to certain content can lead to conflict between Japanese creators and the overseas audiences, which sometimes results in doubts on the sides of the creators or even the need for a third-party mediator. However, the exposure to new viewpoints and cultures allows creators to expand the possibilities of their creations. Takayama also mentioned his responsibility to make decisions that are reasonable for the creative side. If overseas partners ask for something unrealistic, it's important to protect the creators as well if good business relationships are to continue. Of course, the effects of the coronavirus pandemic couldn't go undiscussed. Though it has caused delays and difficulties both on production and financing, the outlook for the future was optimistic. Both speakers expect the lessons learned from being forced to work remotely can be easily applied to future interactions with overseas partners. And the world's trend toward online communication, even domestically, will have a positive impact going forward. So that's nice. Also at TIFFCon was Katakawa Anime's Overseas Business Strategy, Case of Isekai and Future Prospects seminar. Can you believe I was reincarnated as an anime panel, where Katakawa's executive officer and animation group general manager discussed the company's current anime business strategy and how they intend to expand their properties overseas. Domestically, they follow a straightforward model for success. Invest in multiple forms of media to continuously promote the original novel and extend the IP's life cycle. The source material novels are published for a few months or a year before the screen adaptation comes out, and said adaptation becomes a nexus that both supports for the development of the franchise and introduces new fans to the novels. This media mix strategy doesn't seem to work as well overseas, however, and the company's been working for the past couple of years to refine their overseas promotion strategies. And this is one of the things that, yes, they'll release the light novels over here, but light novels don't generally explode, right? Yeah. And so it's like, Unsurprisingly, Katakawa has identified isekai light novels as a major source of growth over the past decade, noting their common denominator originating as web novels that are later republished as books and adapted for the screen. As isekai is also incredibly popular overseas as a genre, Katakawa's leaders hope that these light novels can serve as a springboard for overseas development, and aim to more aggressively target the global market once the pandemic eventually ends. They emphasize the importance of continuously working with foreign partners to market and promote the IPs rather than just selling them at the highest price to licensees. Which helps explain...
That's key.
Yes, which also helps explain Funimation and the consolidation of the market.
Yeah.
So I'm a Spider, So What was cited as a success of this model. The series was predicted to have a higher growth potential abroad than in Japan, and the anime was a co-production with Crunchyroll. By cooperating closely with Crunchyroll on the marketing side as well, the anime was able to reach its top potential, becoming one of the top 5 shows on the streaming service during its run, and exceeding its minimum guarantee for royalties within 6 months.
Ooh.
Not bad. Generally, these contracts last 5 to 7 years, so that's a good number. According to the Katakawa executives, the marketing for the series was so successful because the companies were able to fulfill common requests from overseas marketing licensors. Things like permission to release information about the title at the same time as in Japan, free access to visual access from the series, and outreach from the production staff. They expressed they learned a lot about how to better engage with overseas audiences through these experiences and plan to push this angle even further for releasing future content.
That's
Yeah, interesting.
Gosh, we'd only been capable of doing this 20 years ago. Where would we be now?
No.
Even 10 years ago, if we'd been able to be in this place in time, this would have been a wild place to be right now.
Thank you, Mugen Train, because that's what's making all this happen.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Which I still haven't seen, by the way. Believe it or not.
I didn't see Dune yet, so
the lone viewer of the apocalypse. All right. So I'm hearing all this, and I think it's great. And I think part of it is that they're actually one of the nice things is that they're actually identifying correctly what is hitting right overseas.
Yeah.
Like with the isekai. Even though we joke about so much isekai, the thing is that the reason why there is so much isekai is because it works.
Sells.
Yeah.
It sells. The thing about Spider, which John and I both love and adore. I think one of the big successes of that is that it is not a boy-centric isekai, and I think you're hitting the Gundam Wing model, where suddenly it's like all these girls are getting into it, and it's an action character. It's cute, but it's an action character that does things, that accomplishes things, that is positive, not Shinji. But the upshot of this is that they're recognizing that they have elements of good product and they want to get it out, and they're starting to understand what doesn't work, like light novels over here, and so maybe they'll be able to figure out with partners, like say if we had a company, right, okay, and just said, okay, we're gonna help you license things over here. For us, it would be like, we're not going to put so much emphasis on the light novels, kind of a thing. And this is over here, this is what you need to do. Maybe in France it's a different thing. Maybe in Britain it's another thing. So if they're open to doing that, that's great. I think they're going to come to terms about having a branch office in Japan. Yeah. I think that will quickly go on the wayside.
Well,
unless they're willing to pay for it. But,
or it'll just be all Funimation. Right.
Yeah.
They'll work with 3 different companies. That'll be it.
Right.
Well, and that'd be the interesting thing is, I wonder how many smaller licensed people would be willing to throw in a budget and literally have a consolidated office. You know what I mean? So that you have like 5 people, 5 companies that want to license stuff, and they having a branch in Japan. But yeah, all 5 of them are in like a 10 by 10 room in like Shinjuku. Like, there's just. You know what I mean? But, one company a month shows up, and that's their space, and then they just rotate people in that space so they can have a physical presence. And as it said, the Katakawa thing is like establish a personal rapport. How that would be received on the Japanese end versus having a permanent office there.
Well, I suspect by permanent office they mean less like literally physical office space as having at least one employee working in Japan. Where they happen to be
like a liaison or
right.
Well, I mean that's why you have agents for service for contracts.
Right. Yeah.
Right. You get somebody local there.
What's so fast?
But I'm sorry. The other thing I was just going to
Yeah,
throw
yeah.
out there was that it's nice to hear that they are starting to be more realistic about licensing. It sounds, from what you described to me, it sounds like they're being a little bit more open to the idea of not being as restrictive with their licensing, meaning that actually, John, what you're pointing out is the smaller guys might be able to buy into this, and it won't be just massive corporations, just based on what you were reading off there.
It's interesting.
And now I'm not saying that they are doing it. It just sounds like they're starting to open up a little bit to the idea of it.
That's interesting. That's not how I read this at all. Because to me, when they say, it's challenging dealing with, the difference between creative and the marketing folks, and then when they talk about how needing to have, long-term creative relationships with companies like Simon Spider, that sounds to me like something that pushes out the smaller guys and requires the bigger companies. To me.
Oh no! What I'm saying is that they are not just saying the big guys. They're open to, may not be Spider. It might be other types of. I'm just saying licensing in general.
Okay.
Well, there was something in there talking about emphasizing importance of continuously working with foreign partners, market to promote the intellectual properties, rather than just sell it to the highest price.
Yeah.
Bidder.
But to me, that means that if you don't already have a relationship with them, you're out.
Yeah, which is going to be the
continuous
having somebody on the ground there. It's going to be the key to get that personal relationship.
Yeah, I think it's going to be harder for the smaller companies because I just don't know how they're going to be able to compete with these bigger companies on having those relationships. That's what I feel.
I mean, it's going to be a serious financial commitment to either have an agent on site.
Yeah.
Or several times a year and send people over and then spend a chunk of time, wooing these different companies to try and get.
But to your point, Steve, I think one of the downsides of the earlier model is that the Japanese company's view was, we're going to throw this anime over the wall at a licensor. They pay us however much money, we'll throw it to them and they deal with it in their country. And it had the kind of the upside that, okay, as long as we have the money, we can do it. But the downside was, well, can we have some promotional material? Can we have, something from a voice actor or something? No, it's just, here's the thing, you're done. And it's one of the things that held us back for a long time, is that there were none of these big relationships. There were none of these things. And so you just kind of had to do what you could with what you had. So I think I certainly agree that there's a broadening of minds in all this.
Well, Brent, I have a question.
Yeah.
For your panel about anime and finance and how I remember a graph where you showed Japanese anime is very concerned with Japanese domestic market and international markets. It's out there. It's great. To provide some money, that's super. If it does well, that's fine. Do you think this is shifting that? I mean, this sounds an awful lot like the international market. Yeah, domestic is like bread and butter, but this is like having cake and dessert and all kinds of good stuff too.
Well, and to Steve's earlier point, I think Mugen Train also moved the needle on that too. When they saw that it did great in Japan and did it very well internationally, that they were like, okay, times are changing, and there's money to be made as well. Yeah, and it was moving that direction anyway, but. Yeah.
Right. Well, I was going to say, I would have thought that paying attention to Netflix producing anime, having all these streaming sites over the last, 5 or 10 years, 5 years, that needle would have been moving faster. Well, but Mugen Train was a proof of concept.
Yeah. Well, and also, anime has been making more and more money every year, like for the past several decades. Like it's been going up and up and up and up. And there've been obviously bumps along the way, but I think it's one of those things where it's like, why upset the apple cart, right? Like everything's going fine, And
then Mugen Train,
right? Exactly. So yeah, we'll see. Also this week, You may remember the announcement a few weeks ago of a Kickstarter campaign to fund a new English dub of the 1985 Dirty Pair TV anime. Yep. Well, it ended this week, and fans really came through. Not only did they meet the initial $275,000 goal, they reached every single stretch goal as well, raising more than $730,000.
Sweet.
From 3,000 plus backers.
So Steve Bloom is doing who?
The many rewards that will now be created include episode commentaries, art books, audio tracks, and interviews.
Wow, nice.
Awesome.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's so... Why Dirty Pair? Like, I love Dirty Pair. Don't get me wrong. I love Dirty Pair. But why is that the new Mugen Train for American anime fans? It's so weird.
Hopefully this just, it just cracks the crust, and that we're going to get all of the ones that I've, seen listed as like, this is, if you like this genre, then you'll enjoy these things. And I can never find whatever things are referenced. Be like, come on, if this worked, maybe we can get another good one.
Kino's Journey original series, please. Also, a much hoped for anime adaptation, especially in this house, was finally announced this week. Tatsuya Endo's Spy Cross Family manga is getting a TV anime sometime next year. And Kazuhiro Furuhashi, director of Rurouni Kenshin, Hunter x Hunter, and Gundam Unicorn, will direct the show at Wit Studio and Cloverworks. Yes.
Wow. So that's why I could hear the scream of joy all the way up here in Baltimore. Okay.
Yep.
And I've not seen any of this. Just by your excitement for this stuff, I'm like,
well, check out the trailer, because they released a trailer which includes animation and shows you the characters and all that, and I'm like, yep, you are nailing this.
Nice.
It's a domestic spy comedy about a master spy who wants to find both a wife and a child stand-in for his next mission, without realizing that his wife is an assassin and the child a telepath.
This sounds
great.
awesome.
It's fantastic. That is such a wonderful, wonderful show. Me too, Jay. I'm so looking forward to that. Noriyasu Agamatsu and Elements Garden, the creators behind Uta no Prince-sama, Symphogear, and Visual Prison, have teamed up again to develop a new musical multimedia project, because we don't have enough of those. Along with lyricist Ruka, the team is creating Technoroid, which sounds like an electronic album.
Or a medical problem.
Yeah, exactly. 2022 anime.
I've got this pain, and it's just like right here, and it just feels like wires and chips and.
Oh, you've got a case of Technoroid. Did you sit on a computer recently? Oh, yes, I did. Sorry.
Here's some balm.
It'll include a 2022 anime and smartphone game, and undoubtedly plenty of musical releases and merchandise. It is a story about, quote, wretched, beautiful androids, end quote. Just set in a tower that humanity lives in after climate change submerged the world underwater, and follow several musical units as they compete to rise to the top, naturally. Sony Music Labels launched a multimedia virtual YouTuber project on Monday with involvement from the character designer of K-On!, Yukiko Horiguchi, and the creator of Kaguya-sama Love is War, Aka Akasaka. The project Verse N, or Versen, or whatever, will center on VTubers with a past, telling a story of, quote, girls who connect the world, end quote, through live streams, anime, music, novels, manga, and more. An animated promo video will come out November 12th. TV Tokyo announced an anime adaptation for Kanamafune's On-Air Dekinai and On-Air Dekinai Deep essay manga, which follows a new hire at a Tokyo TV company as they learn the struggle behind the scenes of making television content. The author is a member of the BSTV Tokyo organization, so parts of the essay manga are straight from their time as a TV Tokyo employee.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Yuki Sato's Tomodachi game manga is also getting a TV anime adaptation. And it'll come out in April. Follows a student whose peaceful life suddenly ends when he gets caught up in a mysterious game for money and must decide whether money or his friends matter more. I wonder wonder where that one's going to go. Toei began streaming. Yeah, exactly. Toei began streaming trailers for 2 new anime films this week.
Brent's going to get the money.
One moment.
Stand by, ion control. See, with this filter, it's really hard to tell what like.
I know. I can't.
Is there? Okay, I was gonna say, is there an emergency? Are we okay?
Both of which come from the University of Mizuki Tsujimura's Anime Supremacy novel. The novel follows creators in the anime industry, and the films featured in the trailers are films directed by characters in the novel. So they're adapting the anime made by the characters in the book.
Okay.
More meta.
Exactly.
That'll be really interesting.
Yeah, very much so. Both films scheduled to release sometime next year. More anime is also available for legal free streaming this week, thanks to streaming service Tubi and NIS America. 17 of NIS America's anime series have been added to the service, including Usagi Drop, Cardcaptor Sakura, both English and Japanese, Toradora, English and Japanese, and lots of other favorites. So a lot of the classic stuff coming, which is always awesome. Usagi Drop, watch the anime, don't read the manga.
Yeah. And Toradora, always fun.
Hey, there we go. There's a current anime that really reminded me of Toradora, and I was like, Senpai.
Senpai's annoying.
Yeah, it's totally Toradora.
And by the way, Senpai's tie is EVA Unit 1.
It all makes sense.
Purple and green stripes.
Yeah. It's absolutely. No, I saw that tie and I was like, oh yeah, like it's definitely an EVA reference.
Yeah.
Finally, Graphic Audio announced this week that Hideyuki Kikuchi and Yoshitaka Amano's Vampire Hunter D novels will be released as English language audiobooks.
What?
That's an experience.
Hey, come back!
And they're making them as full cast audio. Sound effects, music, whole 9 yards.
Cool, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that'll be better. Okay, that's better. Okay,
Yeah.
that's better. That's better.
I mean, I love a good narrated
movie.
audiobooks. Yeah, exactly. That's very interesting. The first volume of the audiobook will release on December 15th, so we do not have long to wait. The second one, January 26th. The third, February 24th. And MP3 CD versions will release next year. So presumably those will be like, streaming, download, whatever, and then we can get an actual physical copy later on.
But can they make the sound of the knife going into the eye?
That's a good question. I'm sure they will try.
Yeah. There's somebody out there who could do like crazy sound effects. Sure.
Yeah, I'm curious because they're basically just dubbing an anime without the anime.
Yeah.
So I'll be curious to see what that comes. And obviously, it's the original books, not the actual, animation. But it's interesting to go through kind of just that much effort for a novel series like that. But not complaining. Kind of surprised they didn't do this a few months earlier. It would have been good for October. But what can you do?
Well, just hearing that makes me think back to having listened to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
And they did some simple background noises and special effects and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
This is back. Good lord, what was that? Early '80s, late '70s.
Yeah.
But that was, I remember listening to that like when I would go to bed and be like, "Oh, this is so cool!" And like just that kind of idea, like to hear not just talking. To actually hear like what they're doing, riding on the horse, and the sounds of the night and wind and animals, be like, I hope it's good.
It's a radio play.
Yeah.
It's a radio play.
Yeah. It's like, I hope it's really good.
I'm curious. I'm also kind of intrigued. Let me just check a little bit. Are there only 3 Vampire Hunter D novels? Or are they just releasing the first 3?
Yeah.
It's an interesting question. I'm looking up. Continuing Wikipedia. No, there is not. There's a Wikipedia article, list of Vampire Hunter D novels. There are many, many, many Vampire Hunter D novels. There are several dozen of these. So I guess they're just doing, maybe it could just be that they're just announcing the first three, and others might come.
Right, yeah.
And if that sells fantastically, then there'll be another 3.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, who knows? Boy, wouldn't a modern anime version of Vampire Hunter D look interesting? Boy, with a modern budget.
With a Patreon that maybe fans could.
There we go. You know.
Kickstarter campaign.
Maybe.
Why not?
GoFundMe.
Yeah, there we go.
Hey.
Yeah, but that's all the news for Print this week. See you all next week. Yep, it's back.
Nice.
These headphones are not comfortable with a hat on, oddly enough.
I can't imagine what headphones would be.
No,
So-
right. Not really built for that.
No.
Let me see if I can do something here. I'm going to talk about something I like with the two of you here, which is actually really appropriate, given what I'm about to talk about. Except that's not what it should be showing.
I like eating food and breathing air.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Me too.
I like that a lot.
Let me put this
I've
in
been
place.
Let's
addicted
sing
to
a
it.
song.
There we go.
I like being alive. I like being
Like eating.
alive.
What is a good place to start this? A good opening visual for this movie. It's not great. Whoops! I gotta hold on. Turn off the audio. John, I know you've seen some of this.
Okay.
Because I was with you at the time. But yeah, there we go. Okay, that'll work. Oh no, it won't. Hold on. They're not very kind with that. Okay, that'll work.
The Great British Bake Off.
I love that series, but that is not.
That's not anime.
It is not anime, sadly.
Not yet.
Your cookies are crumbling off with your head.
They did
I
have.
really think they should.
We did have an otaku
really
contestant once,
Oh, really?
and she
They
did
were
like
otaku for food.
yeah, she did anime themed stuff, like cakes and stuff.
Nice.
But they were
They were
not
delicious. Oh, come on. They were probably delicious.
I'm sure they were.
They were. She was very good. She did not win though.
Yeah.
But yes, a lot of just sort of Japanese themed things. A lot of matcha tea flavored cakes and such.
Nice.
Totally fine. All right, let's see let's see what folks have to say about this one, because I have things to say about this one as well. Welcome to Brent's Anime Recommendation Corner, where I talk about anime I love, and today I'm talking about Lensman.
Alrighty, here we go.
And when I say love, you're going to explain why I mean that in a complicated way.
Were you drunk?
Aw, come on now.
So, for those not familiar, The Chronicle of the Lens and Lensman was arguably the first, it was definitely the first space opera science fiction story ever written. It was written back in the 30s, I believe, or the 20s.
Something like that.
And written and literally put into a drawer, not published because there were no science fiction markets at the time. Astounding Science Fiction had not been published yet. And so when it actually premiered and arrived, E. Doc Smith, the author, pulled it out and sent it off to Astounding, and it was one of the first things they published. Like it was one of their early successes with this serialized novel set in the far future. Well, the fairly far future. Definitely spaceships, roaming the stars. And the idea was that there are these special people who have these lenses embedded in their hands, and gives them more or less special powers, telekinetics and mental powers and such. And then in the 80s, the Japanese decided to make an anime out of that. And then,
We tried.
well,
We tried.
they did, and then they edited that into a movie.
Yeah.
And then that got brought over here by Streamline Productions, and dubbed, and I use the word loosely. Streamline Productions is one of those companies. Their dubs are often questionable. I often defend some of their dubs and they're not great, but they're functional. Lensman, can be difficult to listen to at times, but So this is set in very much the 80s far future. It is very much an 80s anime film. All of the kind of classic elements are there, and very distinctive character designs. This man's shoulders are way broader than his head would suggest. But you do what you can. And so we cut from that to the Kinnisons on their planet with their goofy sidekick. And then of course bad things happen as the bad guys, evil alien race shows up, bad things happen, and then the teenage son is thrust off on a world of adventure through the stars. This is a big book, Lensman. There's a lot going on here. And squashing it down into 90 minutes is not kind. So from a plot perspective, it's really weird. Partly because you can really feel like this is like a TV series re-edited into a movie where you're watching like the first 3 episodes where like it's all set up, and it just doesn't have a really satisfying kind of build up, and you kind of jump to the end at the end. So it's just a really awkwardly paced movie. There are surprisingly few characters for a giant space opera movie, as you're racing through the stars and going through things. It does have in my opinion, really fun golden age science fiction space opera aesthetic. You do feel like you're in a universe of interplanetary travel and adventure and lots of crazy things going on. Kind of that Star Wars aesthetic, that this is a big universe that you're in. That definitely comes across as cheesy as it can be at times, but hey, what can you do? That is kind of 80s anime a lot of the time. And on the one hand, like the movie is a mess. On the other hand, as somebody who's read the original novel, this is the most effective visual adaptation of Lensman I've seen on screen. It's also the only one that exists as far as I know. Right. But they did get across the feel of this lens having this great power and being a youth who suddenly has this ability. And so you can feel them trying to respect the source material while also, not trying to follow it beat by beat and telling their own kind of big adventure story. Another thing I really appreciate about the movie is that later on is the general visual aesthetics of it. There's an inventiveness to this. Science fiction being wild and looking weird and having really unusual environments and unusual people, because you have this alien. I'll see if there he is. 1 second. Sorry. It keeps bouncing around. There's this vaguely bipedal sort of bat alien where his wings wrap up around his arms, and who runs around, and he cannot speak. He just speaks telepathically to the characters. And it's such an inventive, unusual character to have in your story. And he is a Lensman as well. By the way, in universe, they use the classic version of Lens. There are female Lensmen. It's very much... there's a sense of scale and scope to this movie that I think we don't get a lot of in a lot of stories. And it goes a lot of places. Decent animation budget. there's music. There's a dub. And there's an ending.
There's Brent.
Yes.
There is a dub. A dub. Yes, there is.
I have in one of my presentations, I actually do a talk about bad dubbing, where I say, if you all think dubbing today is bad, let me play you this, and I play a clip from Lensman.
Nice.
As an example of just terrible, terrible dubbing. A guy walks in and I'm not going to remember the line, but it's something like, and now we know why the Terrarians are entering our system. Wow, you put a lot of effort into that line.
Emote.
All the emotions. All the emotions. But
the theory is my character is emotionally damaged and unable to deliver any kind of effective, dialogue or monologues.
it hasn't come out yet.
Yeah. Alrighty.
So this is maximum cheese, right? I would even argue like this is it's not even so much cheesy. It's that this is it's not quite inept, but it is mistakes were made over the course of the production of this movie.
No, he did not say choices were made.
Mistakes were made. Mistakes were made. But if you can get past those and enjoy it for a big, bold science fiction adventure, it's a fun roller coaster ride, right? And the parts that really didn't work at all for me were parts that I could totally just laugh out loud at, and not feel like I was hating it. It was just that's just ridiculous. So that saves it as well. Well, yeah, exactly. Captain Laser Eyes. Speed Racer had the best dub in the world when it came out. So hey,
yeah. Well, this, what we had seen, Brett, of it, it reminded me of Galaxy Rangers mixed with like Jace and the Wheeled Warriors.
Totally, absolutely.
Where it's like it's firmly in the time it was produced.
Yes.
In all of its excellent glory on all fronts.
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
They tried. They tried. They went places.
But how would you compare it to the Megazone 23 sequel?
Well,
to the sequel? So like the part 2? Oh,
right.
The part 2 I thought was like their grandkids. Yeah. Haha. Goodness.
Yeah. It's a thing. But
it's a thing. It's a glorious thing.
Stories had to be told, and anime had to be made, and regardless of the consequences.
Exactly.
Look, I will tell you, this was in 1995. This was a drinking game for me and my friends.
For Lensman?
Yeah.
Really?
The movie. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a drinking game. It was a most awesome drinking game. Because we got drunk in probably like 20 minutes.
Yeah. I believe this was a Sci-Fi Channel anime, right back in the day when they did their anime Saturdays and various things. I think this is one of their.
And by the way, the first time I saw the Lensman was from a guy. One of my friends went to a convention. The guy had, it's one of those dubious things. It's like, this is, not pirated at all.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Yeah.
And it was like kinetoscope.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It was like he set up the camera.
Wow.
In front of the TV. And did that. So that was my first experience with Lens.
Wow.
So you got the refresh line that come coming down. Like, oh boy. Back in the VHS days.
Well, I mean, even like the copies of Lensman that I have, I'm not aware of any great copies of it. Like, it's not that this was not stored in great quality as far as I can tell.
They haven't gone back and remastered it?
Yeah.
No,
Wait.
that's what we need a Patreon.
There we go.
For
Yes.
now.
To remaster Lensman.
Exactly. Yeah.
The sad thing, if anybody hears me that and they're actual fan, that's gonna happen. I'm just like, oh no, what have I wrought?
Yeah. No, just make a new one.
Hubris.
To give you guys an idea of, you got in Chatley an idea of how influential the original novel was. I distinctly remember reading it, and the big villains are the Boscone Empire, which are these, they've been around for like millions of years. In the big fight, and one of the big fights is the good guy aliens basically are actually hiding out in different pockets of the universe to make the Boscone Empire think that they don't exist anymore, that they've died out. And they've got this long-term plan to kind of have things around so the Boscone Empire won't find them. And then the Boscone Empire obviously finds out about them and things happen. And I distinctly remember reading the book and turning the page and seeing the title, Part 2, The Boscone Empire Strikes Back.
I was about to say, it sounds kind
Wow!
Sounds familiar.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
So the rebel Jedi.
The rebel Jedi with the special powers that they have that make them unique in the universe. Yeah, very, very. very
that was totally different. Huh.
Yeah, so it's very interesting. Very interesting.
So perhaps the Star Wars universe didn't pop out of nowhere, huh?
Imagine that.
Amazing.
Things come and go. Everything's an influence. But that's Lensman. Again, I love it despite its flaws. Like somebody loves it is, despite, not because of all of its things.
A true guilty pleasure.
There we go.
Were you not entertained?
Many people are not, but that's okay.
That's their problem.
Cool. And then I cannot bring up the anime history graphics, but we can talk through it real quick.
All right.
So welcome to This Week in Anime History, where guess what? You talk about things that happened this week in anime history.
Ooh.
Let's go all the way back to November 3rd, 1928.
Okay.
The birthday of a rather famous gentleman in anime. Can you all guess who that might be?
Please don't say Miyazaki.
No. He's rather later.
Make it. Osamu Tezuka.
There we go. Well done. Yes. November 3rd, 1928.
I was getting a little worried if it was like Miyazaki. I was going to say, oh, dear Lord, he's really old.
Tezuka, obviously legendary manga creator, then anime creator, Astro Boy, Princess Knight, Pluto, Buddha, not Pluto, Buddha, all sorts of other amazing things. Phoenix.
Did he do one called Aya or Ayaka?
Ayako, yeah.
Ayaka.
Yeah.
That's sitting up there somewhere.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's one I keep seeing. I'm like, oh, do I want to buy that?
There are some panels in that manga where they were in a rush. I'll just put it that way. So it's not his. I would argue Ayako is one of his more impressive stories in terms of telling an interesting story about an interesting time in history, and being really about some complex family dynamics and so forth. While also probably being not his high point artistically, unfortunately. So, but very
for Astro Boy, you just make gray backgrounds to save time and money. That's not sort of surprising.
Yeah. But yeah, very, very, very interesting. Very interesting story. Its main thrust is about the loss of the power of the landowners after World War II. So all the land was taken away from all the landowners and distributed all around.
Right. Redistribution.
Yeah, and what that does to a family that used to own a bunch of land and suddenly doesn't anymore. Bad things happen. So that was then. moving forward, so speaking of that, November 5th, 1941, also a birthday, this time of an anime creator. That was the birthday of Yoshiyuki Tomino.
Yep. No, Kill 'Em All Tomino.
Yeah. Tomino, born a month before Pearl Harbor, the attack on Pearl Harbor. To give you an idea of how long he's been around.
Yeah.
Wow. So yeah.
Not a good time to be born in Japan, really.
Well, I mean, granted, it also allowed him to be born to grow up after a lot of things. So he was not going to be drafted or any of those sorts of things.
Right. But he had to live through the privations of food rationing and as we've seen from things like Grave of the Firefly.
Well, that was kind of but
talking about like difficulty getting food, rice wasn't readily available if you didn't have anything to trade or steal.
In fact,
still.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say Mizuki in his Showa series talks about people dying of starvation even without bombing. Starving to death during the war. So it's like, oh gosh.
Yeah, it was not a fun time. And Tomino talked about the fact that growing up, he was part of that generation that had a big chip on its shoulder against the war generation. Of how could you possibly have gotten us into this war? And he's as he's grown older, he's realized it's more complicated than that, and that there's a lot of kind of youthful anger at that generation without kind of really fully thinking through everything. And then this year's also an unusual date, November 6th, 2022.
$2022?
Yeah. That is the day that Sword Art Online comes online.
Oh good.
So in about a year.
Well, I know a video game I'm not playing.
Here, let me put this thing on my head.
I'm gonna microwave some popcorn in my head.
So we all have that to look forward to. Yeah.
So when did SAO come out then? If 2022 was that far in the future?
Yeah, no kidding. That's a good question.
Has it been 10 years or
about
more?
that?
COA was.
The light novel started in 2002.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Wow.
The novel started in 2002. Light novels in 2009. Anime TV series in 2012.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was 20 years in the future for the novels. In fairness.
Dang.
Yeah.
This is like Buck Rogers all over.
Yeah.
In the year 1999.
Yeah.
Like, really?
Actually,
on a deep space mission in a shuttle. Really?
It was a great opening sequence for the show.
Yes, it was. Oh, man. Oh, back in the day.
So, one of my favorite television memories of all time is watching an episode of South Park where Cartman wants the new Nintendo. And,
yeah.
Yeah.
The Okami GameCube.
Something like something like
Yes.
that. Yes.
Yeah.
And he decides he needs to freeze himself to wait until it comes out, and so he goes up into the snow, and we've had just a very traditional kind of South Park episode up to this point, all the jokes and so forth, and then he frees himself, and we get a full-scale Buck Rogers, opening sequence thing of all of the images and the thing and all that and the music and everything flying across. I'm like, holy crap! You spent time on this.
Yeah. That was awesome. Cartman, you can't wait 5 days.
Oh dear, yeah. Just to have that come out of nowhere was just, and the fact that 99% of the fans would have no effing clue what was going on.
Yep.
No reference for that, whatever.
They'd just be like, "Oh, well, that's neat." Be like, "No, you don't get it. You don't understand the context of this." Youth wasted on the young.
Exactly. I'm trying to find out in what year Lensman is set, but I cannot find out that because it's probably set in 1990.
Yeah, I was gonna say set in the far year 2000. Wow.
Yeah.
Bit.
What's up, Buck?
The bug.
Dr. Theopolis.
Oh man, and Colonel Deering.
Colonel Wilma Deering.
Deering.
Oh,
He was very
Yeah.
Aaron Gray. Oh boy.
Mm-hmm. She ignited a few fandoms back in her day.
Oh, yeah.
And that is This Week in Anime History.
Sweet.
Yeah. Cool. That is that. So yeah, again, OnCon is coming up December 4th, about a month from now. Next week we'll be talking about Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0, the final Evangelion rebuild film,
Yeah.
which will be, to put it mildly, interesting.
Mm-hmm. The end of Evangelion
End of-
forever.
yes.
No more. Nothing.
Well,
Except for all the new characters they're going to introduce for the Eva, like,
Well,
part 50.
and as I've said, I believe that Anno is done with Evangelion. I do not believe Sony Pictures is done with Evangelion.
Well, Mari does show up, in an interesting time, and we don't have a lot of background on her. So
Right, exactly.
somebody else sort of took that ball and said, okay, yes, Anno, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Shinji and Rei, done. That is done. We're thank you. Now, on to Mari's story.
Sure.
There we go.
I totally believe that. Plenty of options, I think, for that universe. Or just, let's be honest, reboot it again. Somebody will do it.
Yeah.
Well, there's that short film of the three girls who formed the idol group. I don't know if I ever showed you guys that or you ever saw that. When Studio Kara was doing their short film collection, they did a short film about three girls in Tokyo 3, like junior high school girls, who were all forming an idol group. They're all forming a band.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if you showed that to us, but you showed that to me.
Okay, there we go.
Oh
Yeah.
my God! Yes, I remember that.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
Did
starts
it end
very
badly?
cheap.
Because that's the only feel like it can end.
It is not the most cheerful ending in the world. I'll put it that way.
But, and I think I said it at the time, I wanted to watch
Totally.
I would
Yeah.
have eaten that up because
Yeah.
it's like, wow, I love this perspective of not the big thing over there.
Yeah.
That's going on. How about the little people over here
Exactly.
whose lives are in Tokyo 3
Yeah.
constantly getting screwed? Like,
Yeah. It's actually a really great premise for a TV show.
yeah.
Just, there's all this backup, all this apocalyptic stuff happening. But how do we get on with our lives? How do we just kind of, have some sense of normalcy?
Which, that alone
And
could
here is
easily be the way.
Hataro, insurance adjuster for Tokyo 3.
Yeah. The guy's got, like, behind him, there's a noose, there's a handgun on the table. It's just like, beep, 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 beep. Yes. Call for you on lines 1 through 100.
Much less the
You want
construction companies.
Yeah. Yeah. They're all just sitting back on piles of money like, oh, what's today? Monday? Oh, yeah, it's going to be a good day.
Can you imagine that phone call in Tokyo 3? You want life insurance? Why?
Why?
Nobody's getting life insurance. Do you realize what the premiums would be? More than the national debt.
Do you guys remember when Weta Workshop was working on concepts for a live-action Evangelion film?
Yeah.
And
That
they
was
released,
a while ago. wasn't
yeah, and they released
I
sketches.
remember that mentioned and thought, oh, how could that go?
Yeah, and it was not long after like Lord of the Rings came out, as I recall. Lord of the Rings movies. And everyone was really excited because it was a neat idea, and it fizzled. Like it was, early pre-production stuff, and never went around. I remember at the time folks going, very exciting, but come on, right? Like how good could this possibly be? So forth and so on. Today, that could work.
Pacific Rim.
Yeah, we have
Yeah.
a world now where I think you could actually make that
Want
work.
to do that one? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Also, oddly, I think this is also a world in which they could be 14, like in universe, which was a lot harder to sell back in the day. But I think you could
Right.
definitely do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny how things have changed now to where that might be a possibility.
We would technically have the capability to make it look really, really good.
Right.
Yeah.
Versus a number of years ago, it would have been like a sci-fi channel show, and like, oh, this is terrible.
But I have a question for you all. Oh, hold on. Wait a minute. Hold the phone. Yeah, there we go. There we are. Wait.
What did we learn on the show tonight, Bren?
On the show tonight, Bren. Fly me to the moon. I learned that Evangelion can take a turn in a direction that I enjoy and can reframe itself in ways that work surprisingly well for what I want out of those characters and so forth. Not just remix, not just change things around a little bit, but can completely rethink itself in ways that are like really effective. I also learned that, well, I learned Spy Family is getting an anime adaptation, and that just makes my week. Just right up there. Straight. Really looking forward to that. Just in general, I also learned that, actually, I know what I learned. I am not as depressed and or angry and or fearful at this point in my Evangelion rebuild journey as I feared I would be like a couple of weeks ago. Like this has been a very positive experience moving into this. I was afraid that I would be drinking heavily or raising my fist a lot, but this has been going like really nicely. Like I'm
Punching your fist through the side of a ship. So angry.
Against the the thing.
Oh yeah.
No, not the dagger. The what the hell is that? Higurashi.
Yeah, not Higurashi. No. There is a great quick side thing. There is an AMV of I'm a Barbie Girl, set to Rei Ayanami. And
Wow.
There's a point in the chorus where it's just doing the music kind of repetitively, and they cut that to the head hitting the building just over and over and over. It's funny,
Awesome.
How about you, Steve? What'd you learn tonight?
Well, I learned that I'm going to have to catch up on Spy Family, the manga, so that I can be prepared for the upcoming anime, so that I too can enjoy the ride along with you when it comes out. Because I literally did hear the scream of joy up here. I have learned that I am enjoying, for the most part, the Evangelion. Evangelical Lion rebuild.
Evangelion, I think we all.
Evangelion rebuild. And but no, seriously, I am enjoying it. I like the differences. It's really interesting watching it at 12:30 at night when you're exhausted after moving 600 crates or 600 cases of beer.
Jeez.
And you're watching it and it does that hard left-hand turn that you're not expecting. You're just like going, oh my god.
Did you say Did you say moving or drinking?
Yes.
Very good. Then.
Yeah. And watching it and being and just I am enjoying it, and it's nice to have something different to compare to the television series that's unique and being
It's a
able
thing all its
to
own.
yeah. But I have learned that I am going to be fearful if this is indeed the end, that it's going to be an end that's going to make me drink 600 cases worth of beer and rage upon the city of Baltimore and light it on fire so that the heavens can see my all-consuming hate and anger for what could possibly happen. I'm just warning you, I might be on the news.
Oh, wow. You're really committed to this, Steve.
Smash cut to Misato. It's gone berserker.
Yeah. And there's Steve. Ah! Insert Godzilla scream. Oh no. Oh.
John?
I learned that again, I'm not an industry insider, so I thought that the animation industry already was sort of on track with bringing in, greater opportunities to synergize with the rest of the globe to spread anime around. So I've learned that that's still a process in the works. They're still fine-tuning some of the elements of this and figuring out how they're going to engage the world in the most rational, profitable way possible.
Yeah.
Also that, a Kickstarter campaign did its thing. And it did it well to get Dirty Pair.
Yes.
And that's that. Again, I'm sure there have been a lot of other Kickstarter campaigns that have not done so well. So I'm going to be very hopeful that this means we're going to get some other people who are going to rally around some very obscure anime that maybe I've never heard of.
Yeah.
And that we can get some dubs and we can get some stuff going on.
Nice.
I think we've got anime companies are like, hey, let's do these things to bring things to the world. Got people who are like, hey, let's raise money to get those things to come to that this will come together in this beautiful harmony.
Nice.
And that we'll see a crap ton more of stuff. I
It will
hope.
be golden.
I hope.
Yeah, back when anime crowdfunding first sort of saw a big spike, for the first 3 months or so, I went back and I pulled information on all the crowdfunding campaigns, just counted how many of them succeeded and failed, and about half actually succeeded, which is not bad. It's nothing to sneeze at, but it does indicate it's not a slam dunk.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, totally. Good to see Dirty Pair
Get its treatment.
get its treatment.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of a way of saying that didn't sound weird. Good to see the bounce on those Dirty Pair.
I just thought of several things I'm not going to say.
Yeah, exactly.
Nope.
Yeah. So that'll do it for us for tonight. Thank you all so much, as always. I am genuinely grateful to John and Steve here and all of you in the chat for doing this. This is one of the highlights of my week, doing this every week. And it's always just great fun to do, and I'm just so appreciative to have this around. We will see you next week for EVA 3.0, 1.0, and then after that we're going to do some Miyazaki movies, I think. And we'll move back into Miyazaki land for a little bit. Yes, and decompress a little from the apocalyptic end of the world stuff. So thank you all so much. Have a great one. Take care. See you next week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Johnny. Say
Bye.
roll.